Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're about to go into closed session. So what I'd like to do at this time is go out to the public to see if there are any comments on any items on our closed session. Do we have any callers?
We do have some, but let's just wait a few seconds to see if anyone, please raise your hand if you want to speak on any item on the closed session agenda.
Closed session. We're on closed session right now.
Okay, we do have one.
Steve?
Ellie, go ahead.
Oh, Ellie. Go ahead, Ellie. I think she may be muted.
Yeah. Not sure if she got out or what happened. I don't see her anymore.
Her
Ellie, go
little
ahead.
muted thing was on, so it may
Yeah.
have been.
She unmuted
There she
now.
is.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, my internet isn't working for me right now. Hi, hello, City Council. I'm here in behalf of a lot of community members like myself that grew up with the Fox Theater and have long awaited an opportunity like this. I'm here to fully support the city in purchasing the Fox Theater and investing in its historical value. I ask you purchase it and invest in renovating its original spaces that can be transformed for the arts. We can have live theater, comedy shows, dance performances. Imagine having events at the Fox with an art center across the street at the Porter Building, down the street from the Youth Center, and surrounded by our favorite locally owned restaurants downtown. This could be great. The opportunities and the imagination that we have for the Fox Theater is amazing. There was recently a youth conducted survey by high schoolers in our town where an overwhelming amount of youth voiced that they want a recreational opportunities in our community. We don't have a music venue or any spaces for the huge amount of talented artists in our communities. When the Appleton was open, it would drive folks from other communities to come spend their money here. And that's what the Fox will do. And more importantly, it'll keep us locals here as well. We're tired of traveling for art when we have so much here. So I strongly urge you to speak to the owner and to get the Fox Theater for us. We've been waiting for something like this for a really long time, and I think that it would be great for our city. I remember standing in line all the way around the bank waiting for the Selena premiere in the 90s. I remember going to the Fox Theater, getting the popcorn. Like, I have memories in that place. I remember the inside of it so well. We could have comedy shows. We can create the stages where we had the screens. We have the city. It has so much historical value. It's been here for almost 100 years. So I ask that you don't demolish it, that you purchase it, renovate it, and give us what we've been waiting for a long time. This will be a huge success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Next caller.
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay. Without any other callers, we are now going into closed session. All right. See everybody at 6 o'clock.
Hold on. We got one. Cedric. Go ahead, Cedric.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. My name is Cedric Cabrera. I am a local actor, writer, teaching artist, and I'm here speaking just on behalf of supporting this, purchasing of the Fox Theater and the space for the community. I think that, given the fact of the way that the community has been and the sort of back and forth and turmoil that's happened within the context of gentrification, those conversations that people have been having, I think that this could be a really awesome way for you all to basically give something back to the community that has desperately needed to have a new life. It's a space that, as Ellie mentioned, is very near and dear to a lot of us here that were born and raised in Watsonville. Myself personally, my parents used to own the My Choice Pizza, which was attached to the Fox Theater. So I grew up in the building and I have a strong connection with it. And right now I'm currently calling in from San Francisco because I, am based out of here because of the fact that I have to come out here for work, in the arts. But I work with the Yerba Buena Cultural Arts Center at the John Moscone Center. And if the necessity is like just having somebody that has the willingness to take that lead and help you all to get it up on its feet, then I am more than willing to donate some of my time. And all I ask is that you just have an opportunity to meet with me and talk about it. And I just want to see like what it is that you all need from the community, and I can find it for you. I can find the support that you're looking for in order to get this project done. And I just am very excited about the idea of like this having a new lease on life. And I know that Hank is looking to get rid of it. And this is just like a win-win, not only for the city, for Hank, but the community at large. So I will gladly give you my contact information if you wish to talk more. Again, I just thank you for your time, and cool. So with that, I los dejo. Bye.
Thank you so much. Is this Anne want to speak, Beatrice?
Nope, I'm not, I don't, she doesn't have her hand raised.
Okay. All right. Now at this point, we will excuse ourselves. We'll go into closed session and we'll be back at 5:30. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Good evening, everybody. Today is April 13th. It is our city council meeting. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's meeting. Could we start please with the roll call, Madam Clerk?
Estrada,
Present.
Garcia,
Here.
Gonzalez,
Present.
Hurst. Oh, not here. Montesino,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Dutra.
I'm here. Thank you. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's see here. All right, any reports? I'm just going to go right down to the reports by council members regarding actions taken at their regional commission boards or meetings. Anybody?
Mayor, excuse me, those are just written reports that we submit.
Yes. Do you want to say anything about them or no?
No, we weren't supposed to. They're
Okay.
just written reports.
Okay. All right. So this time is set aside for members of the public the general public to address the city council on any items not on the council agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented, except that any council member may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to the staff. All matters relating to council will be noted in the minutes and may be scheduled for discussion at a future meeting or referred to staff for clarification and report. All speakers are asked to announce their name in order to obtain accurate records for their minutes and the district they live in. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve. Did he come in?
You're muted.
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to first thank our retiring police chief, David Honda, for his years of service. And I am very hopeful that a committee will be set up to advise personnel based on the city's broad, diverse ethnic background of people who live here as to how we go about replacing him. That is not a slam on Mr. Sims. Actually, Mr. Sims is doing an admirable job. Nonetheless, it will be for the personnel department and the city manager to decide. But I do think that input is very necessary in order that we get the best possible candidate for the job, because we are entering basically a period of the unknown with so many police departments in question as to their professionalism, as to how they feel about people of another skin color, and particularly with the violence that we're seeing in, of all places, what used to be a progressive state, Minnesota. So I'm very hopeful, Mr. Mayor, that you will push forth that agenda, because we really need to get the very best we can for our beautiful community, and it is a beautiful community, and for the most part, very peaceful, and we certainly do want to keep it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great evening.
Go ahead, Celeste.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. As a member of the Policing and Social Equity Ad Hoc Committee, I would like to share with the community that committee members voted last week to have our meetings closed to the community. The following members voted to keep it open: Jenny Sarmiento, Mariana Juarez, Bobby Marchesalt, Anissa Balderas, Jorge Duque, Celeste Gutierrez, Eric Strum, Jen Salinas Haas. The following members voted to keep it closed: Mayor Jimmy Dutra, Council Member Francisco Estrada, Police Captain Jorge Zamora, Police Officer Adrian Alvarez Nava, Police Officer Alex Magana, Deputy District Attorney Crystal Salcido, Rabbi Debbie Israel, Jeffrey Tillery, Angelica Martinez. I would like to reiterate that it was law enforcement, council members, and only 4 ad hoc community members who voted to have these meetings closed, with 8 ad hoc community members voting to keep it open. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, wow, this is disappointing to learn. The first page of the strategic plan states, working with community to create positive impact through service with heart. So voting to close the ad hoc committee meetings with police is the exact opposite. Like, city council and city staff, so often you make us feel like we don't know what we're talking about, to follow the process, to give you a chance. And when we do, this is what happens. I wrote a public comment about the strategic plan workshop and my hopefulness on working with the city, but per usual, I won't have time to read it after this. And you know what's sad? I called this in August. In August, I said, to follow the process like you tell us about this ad hoc committee. I said it was going to be performative. And then I said, what did I say? Will they account city employees in this diversity, or will the diversity only be applied to community members, actually empower the police even more under the assumption that they were being held accountable by their peers? And then that's exactly what you have done. The matter of closing public committee meetings should have been up to the committee alone. Cops should not have been allowed to vote. They're biased. This is disappointing, but sadly predictable. This was Garcia's project. She should have been left on it. Jimmy Dutra shouldn't have voted, and she should be removed. Chief Honda, who began this with her, wasn't present either and didn't vote either. This is not okay. I don't hang anything from my mirror because WPD pulled me over and harassed me for hanging something, and a police just killed a man for that same reason. I don't drive 2 miles above the speed limit because I've been pulled over by WPD for going 2 miles past the speed limit and harassed for it. I have a list of grievances. WPD is complicit in the same behavior that goes on in Minnesota. They harass our people. Paco, I cannot even begin to explain to you the way that you have made me feel. And I told you guys this weekend, don't waste my time. And that's exactly what you've done by asking us to commit and give you time for this committee meeting. And this is exactly what you're.
Next caller.
That concludes public comment, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, so let's bring this back to the city council for their 2 minutes. Let's start with Councilmember Garcia.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give you a list of all the Zoom meetings I had, but I'm going to speak about only one of them. I attended the Staff of Life ribbon cutting, the Cesar Chavez Award ceremony, the Arts Council orientation, the Monterey Bay Green New Deal meeting, the Parks and Recs Commission meeting, Latino Affairs Commission meeting, the Cabrillo College Name Exploration Community meeting, COPA, and the all-day strategic planning meeting. I would like to talk about the planning for Sustainable Central Coast Summit, which focused on climate action plans. It was organized by Ecology Action and Green Power. I want to thank Steve and Alex for helping me to prepare for the dual presentation made by Steve and I. Our presentation focused on our plan and that it will focus on strategies to improve access to healthcare, access to open space, access to trails, access to community gardens, access to the internet, and the creation of programs that facilitate neighbors connecting, sharing resources, and helping each other. To our pleasant surprise, we had many positive comments shared. Some of what was said include Watsonville is such an awesome community, great leadership, refreshing to hear Public Works director with a system approach perspective, and Watsonville's alignment with elected staff and community is really rare. Many more comments were made that show Watsonville as a model for climate action plans. On the agenda tonight is an update on our climate action and adaptation plan, where you will learn more about our climate action activities. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it brief. Welcome, folks, to the City Council meeting, first of all, and I thank you for volunteering and stick with us. I know it's a hard and difficult process, and bureaucracy gets in the way sometimes, but be patient and good things will come. You know, I had a meeting with Congressman Jimmy Panetta. I had the opportunity to talk to him. He gave me some of his time. We were able to meet in person, and we spoke about the pandemic and the resources that are coming to our city, and also the needs that our city needs and the region overall. We talked about climate action, our farm workers, our businesses, our farmers. It was a good discussion, and it was a productive discussion. We were able also to talk to hopefully get some funding for our trail to Lee Road, our bridge. Staff is going to be working with our staff and trying to move that project forward. So overall, it was a good conversation with a congressman, and I appreciated his time for that. I also attended a COPA meeting. I found that very interesting. I had to leave, obviously, to attend another meeting, the ad hoc committee meeting at the same time. And so they're really interesting meetings. They're really good meetings, and the COPA and how they have it structured. So I found that really interesting. The other thing is that for the RTC, I sit on the RTC. I represent the Metro and RTC, which I represent Watsonville on Metro. And unfortunately, right now, there's been an impasse on the light rail project, the business plan accepting it. So if you have time and are willing to speak up in favor of the rail, or if you're in favor of the trail also, or like me, in favor of the rail and trail at the same time, May 6th is the next opportunity you'll have to be able to voice your support for this project. And so I thank you. And one more last thing, baseball started. I'm excited. I'm a manager, and the kids are out there having fun and exercising.
Great to hear. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Montesino. You're on mute. Still on mute.
I'm going to keep it short for everyone, but I just want to say that we had a really good strategic planning workshop meeting with council members and staff. We miss you, Ari. Wish we could have had you, but it was a great opportunity to have conversations somewhere where we're going and just the budgetary opportunities and constraints. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make two announcements. One is that PVPSA, Dignity Health, the school district, and I believe another organization is hosting a COVID vaccine clinic in Pájaro. Even though Pájaro's not in our jurisdiction, we've always considered Pájaro to be part of this community. And so I know there was an issue with that they had originally suggested or said that they were going to use the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but they've switched to Pfizer so that that way we don't risk people's health. And if you're looking for a number, you can probably reach out to PVPSA to get the number to register. You just have to be 18 years of age and older, no insurance, no ID. We just want to make sure that people get the vaccine. And then next Tuesday, my employer, the Pájaro Valley Community Health Trust, in partnership with Kaiser, is opening a brand new farmers market in the community of Watsonville. The Pájaro Valley Community Health Trust believes in health and in community health and in health equity. And so we believe that through the services, programs, people that we bring to the market, el mercado, that we will be able to connect people with food, with resources, with education, with nonprofit organizations, just anything that we can do to help people live healthier lives. So that's next Tuesday, April 20th, and it starts at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And we really hope we'll see the community out there. Please remember to wear a mask. We'll follow all COVID-related protocols, and we're just really excited for all of this. So those are my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Council Member. And Mayor Pro Tem Parker.
Thank you, sir. I just want to thank the people of Watsonville as I've been able to get out and literally get out of my house and go to businesses for the first time in a year, rather than ordering or having someone else pick things up for me. I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work that's gone on and how the positive attitudes for everyone when you walk in and the helpfulness. People of Watsonville are pretty amazing. And I know that not everybody who works here lives here, but I think we do. I think we tend to. I want to say that kindergartners have gotten to see their schools for the absolutely first time in physical world. They haven't been on campus before, and this is a lot of fun for them. And this week, all the way up to sixth graders in elementary school and seniors in high school got to go on campus. So that's a nice thing. Starting small, working out, keeping safety protocols. If you're on the east side of Watsonville and you see that hugely crowded parking lot at East Lake Shopping Center, you'll know it's not just Staff of Life. There's so many other ones, but I do have to say, being able to get Marianne's ice cream at Staff of Life and not having to take a trip across the Sea Cliff is pretty awesome. And they have peppermint. They had all my favorites. Little League is open. I've talked to a lot of kids that are super stoked and very excited. Coach Gonzalez, so that's really awesome. And I think there's, sign-ups. I was at CVS and Walgreens for everybody. I was watching these young folks come in, signing up to get shots one by one. And I just want to say, as they open this up, please, everyone, nobody's turned into zombies yet. And I know I hear lots of stories about stuff, but get out there and get your shots and make the community safer. Because we all want to get back to what we thought was normal life. Get somewhere in that vicinity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, good evening, everybody, again, and thank you for being here. Over the past 3 weeks, many of us have been busy throughout our community. As we were said earlier, I was at the Staff of Life ribbon cutting as well, also the Cesar Chavez Awards. Great job, Council Member Estrada, and to your whole team. We also did recently have our strategic planning where we discussed the direction of our city and the important issues we're facing in our community. And it was really great to see the common ground of our council in many areas, such as like parks and broadband, and the fiscal direction of our city being some of the major priorities that this council has. We have a lot of work to do, and I look forward to seeing some of these issues become implemented in Watsonville. So that will be happening over the next 2 years. Coming in our near future, we have some upcoming events such for Earth Day, the weekend of April 18th. That's this Sunday at 1 o'clock. We're going to have the Mayor's Slough Cleanup. So this will be at Ramsey Park. You know, trash is a curable problem here in our community, and I look forward to seeing you there to help clean our sloughs. So again, that's this Sunday, April 18th at 1 o'clock at Ramsey Park. It's going to be the mayor's slough cleanup. It is Earth Day, and let's help contribute to, you know, saving our Mother Earth. Also on Saturday, April 8th, the 24th, or yes, the 24th, we will have the Mayor's Wetlands Restoration Day, and we will be meeting at 76 Hope Drive. This is right in the middle of Councilmember Estrada's district, District 4. I look forward to seeing you there so that we can plant and care for our local habitat. So that is going to be on Saturday, April 24th. That's the Mayor's Wetlands Restoration Day. Please, you're all invited to attend. Also, mark your calendars for May 15th. I will be teaming up with Bike Santa Cruz County for a mayor's bike ride. For more information on this event, we'll have more information later. I also plan on doing a walk with the mayor for those that don't know how to ride a bike or want to ride a bike. We'll be doing a walk with the mayor soon. I'm also excited to share with you, to the public, that I've teamed up with the other 3 mayors in our county, and we will be bringing you a public art experience this summer in our city. We are still working out the details, but 5 lucky artists will be able to design life-sized frames that will be placed in one or several of our parks here in Watsonville. So and hopefully maybe we can do a walk around these artworks frames, and you can be able to get in the frames and take pictures. There'll be backgrounds of maybe historical backgrounds or nature backgrounds in the back that you can use as backdrops. It's going to be a great art project and something to get us out and back and around our community. A lot of exciting opportunities as we come out of COVID, and we are thrilled to be able to have these opportunities for you and in our community. So that is it for me. We are now going to move on to the proclamations. The first one is going to the Moran family and
Mayor.
Real Colima 2.
Mayor,
Yes.
point of order, shouldn't we be closed session, report out of closed session?
Oh, sorry, you're right. Go ahead. Alan?
The council took no final action tonight, so there's no report out of closed session.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. Thank you, City Manager. All right. Now, I get so excited about the proclamations. We have such great families and businesses in this community. The proclamation, this first one is going to go to the Moran family, and they are the owners of Real Colima 2. And I would like to, let's play the video, and we can hopefully, we can discuss. They've been around for a very long time, since I was a youngin'. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I have the honor of giving a proclamation to Real Colima. The first Real Colima was located on Porter Drive in Royal Oaks and was opened in 1980 by Rosa and Alfonso Moran. And whereas the Moran family expanded their business and opened Real Colima 2, Dos, on East Lake Avenue in 1992. And Rosa is currently in charge of overseeing the day-to-day operations of both restaurants, and the Moran family take pride in serving authentic Mexican food, and like many businesses, Real Colima Dos struggled at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially during the first 3 months. And whereas the community was a tremendous help during those difficult times, as they continued supporting Real Colima 2 by placing to-go orders. And the Moran family is grateful to everyone who has contributed to making sure their doors remain open. Real Colima Dos regularly donates to a local nonprofit organizations that host clinics to guide and aid those in need. And on behalf of the City Council, hereby acknowledge the Moran family and Real Colima 2 for being a family-friendly restaurant and an example of perseverance during difficult times, and wish them success for many years to come. Gracias por todo.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Sí. Buenas tardes. Estoy aquí dándole las gracias a la ciudad de Watsonville por este conocimiento que nos acaban de dar por el tiempo que nos hemos estado trabajando en el Real Colima, en Pájaro y en la Islay. Gracias a todas las personas, a toda la comunidad de Watsonville por mantenernos todo este tiempo trabajando. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Mayor, City of Watsonville, and the community. We want to thank you for all the support you guys have provided for the last 40 years, and we promise to work harder to keep another 40 years coming. Thank you for everything and the support that you guys have. Right. We want to thank especially the community. When all those tough times came to play the last year, it was really tough for all the businesses, especially the small businesses. But you guys showed your support, and we want to thank all of you guys for all the support you guys provided. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if I was the only one freezing during that, but hopefully you guys all saw it pretty good. Before we move on, I've had somebody tell me they just were kicked off and they can't get back in. So I don't know if we're having problems. But it was an honor to present the family with the proclamation. I don't know if someone's here today with the family at all, but if any of the council members, I don't know if you've ever eaten there before or had the opportunity to meet the family. That was a mother and a son. They're awesome. Like it was really such an honor. Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor, and I have to agree with you. I know Alfonso from a number of years now, from a number of places, and just a heart of gold, you know, and the family donated to Wine and Roses this year, even though things were tough. But just a lot of respect and admiration and gratitude for Alfonso, his family, and the entire business. So thank you, and we hope that you're a part of this staple of this community for decades more to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the next proclamation. So this next proclamation, I don't know if we can bring the family in first. If we can bring the family of Gloria Betancourt in so they can speak upon, are they here? I just want to make sure. So we have a proclamation that's going to be going to Gloria Esther Betancourt, whereas Gloria Esther Betancourt was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico in 1962, immigrated with her family to California, settling in Watsonville. Whereas a teenager, Gloria worked in the canneries and spent several years with Watsonville Canning while raising her 4 children, Gidget, Gina, Frank, and Richard. And in 1985, Watsonville Canning's workers were forced out on a strike due to the company's 40% wage reduction and drastic cuts in both health benefits and union rights. The strikers committee was then formed during a meeting of 500 workers, and Gloria was elected to serve as president. Gloria and the strikers stood for 18 months, during which time not a single person crossed the picket line. Her heroism of the mostly women strikers inspired people throughout the nation, including Reverend Jesse Jackson, who recognized the importance of their fight for economic justice. On March 11th, 1987, by a vote of 543 to 21, the workers ratified a new contract, which they, along with Gloria, celebrated as victory after a year and a half of hard work. Gloria also has served as a leader of Fiestas Patrias, organizing citywide cultural festivals, and volunteered at the local senior center for many years. She has inspired many people, greeting them with warmth, joy, love, and generosity, sharing her knowledge and listening to all who reach out to her. She's cherished by her family, spending time with her grandchildren, or her children, her 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandsons. Therefore, myself and the City Council hereby recognize and honor the appreciation of Gloria Esther Betancourt, whose life was an example of true leadership, dedication, caring love for the betterment of all people, and convey our deepest sympathy for her passing. Rest in peace.
Mayor, I want to know if any of the family members are in attendance, if they can raise their hands so we can let them in.
I see Gidget is on, so you can.
Who?
Gidget, her daughter. Hi, go ahead, Gidget. Might want to unmute yourself. There you go. I think you can speak now.
Hi.
I'm here. I just want to thank you, City of Watsonville, and also Mayor Dutra for, allowing this to happen. You're right. My mom was a great example, and she did help a lot of people during the strike. And she's a strong woman, and I plan on carrying on for her. I mean, I'm very proud of her and always have been. She has been, did a lot of things for a lot of people, and I'm very honored that this was able to happen. And again, I thank you and the City Council and the City of Watsonville for this honor. Thank you very much. And yes, may she rest in peace.
Our heart goes out to you in your loss.
Thank you.
Would Councilmember Montesino?
Yeah, I just want to say my condolences to the family. I knew Gloria personally, helped through Festias Patrias and through Oscar Rios, and she was a hardworking woman. She was a heart of gold. Always very happy, always enjoying, always giving up herself to the community. So on behalf of me and my family, please accept my condolences. She's a great person.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you my condolences also, and also on behalf of the city of Watsonville. And in those times, I grew up in those times of the cannery strike, and strong women like your mother were really at the forefront and pushing Watsonville forward, and also at the same time keeping us united in difficult times. So I thank her for all the work she did for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you and your family during these times. So
thank you again.
Keep up the good fight.
You will.
All right. So we were going to move on now to our Green Business Program Awards. So at this time, I'm going to introduce, let's see here, our senior analyst, Hilda. All right, is Hilda around? And she will have a short presentation on our green business programs. These are certificates of recognition to the listed businesses for exceeding environmental regulatory requirements, preventing pollution, and conserving our natural resources. I had the honor of meeting many of these business owners who are making such a big impact on our environment. It was an honor to give them their certificates, and I'm proud of our community for really, doing what they can to lower our carbon footprint. Hilda, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This year we had to do it a little bit different because we were not able to invite businesses in person, but we're so thankful to be giving awards to 17 businesses that are being recognized as part of our Green Business Awards and our Earth Day celebrations. We're giving them awards for their efforts to conserve our local resources and promoting environmental stewardship. But first, I'm going to give you a program impact report update for businesses that are participating in the program and show you the difference they're making in our community. This is the program, these are the metrics for the program impact from January to March of this year, so 2020 to 2021. We currently have 51 green business in our community that are supporting our climate action plan in all areas related to sustainability, solid waste diversion, water conservation, energy savings, and greenhouse gas emission savings. And I do want to point out that out of these 51 green businesses, 39% are women-owned or women-ran organizations. So we are so happy to have 51 green leaders in our community. Last week, our mayor met with the 17 recognized businesses that obtained certification between 2020 and March of this year. We have 4 businesses recognized from Plaza Vigil, And in total, we have 10 merchants at Plaza Vigil that are participating in the Green Business Program. We're so proud to call them our Green Block here in the downtown historic area. And the newest members of the program are Taqueria La Fuente, Vicky's Alterations, Omni Health Medicine, and Fruteria Quetzal. I also want to point out that our program is offered in Spanish, and that is huge as we build social equity for environmental programs. We also want to recognize Watsonville Cyclery and My Mom's Mole for participating in the program. Green business is smart business, and we are so happy they're in the program. Please congratulate them on your next visit and make sure you support our green businesses. Granite Construction headquarters also received a certificate for their participation in the program. I want to highlight that organizations like these are also promoting green culture in the workplace, which is something that we're also trying to do at city facilities and with city employees. But above all these certifications, we have two businesses locally that received innovator level certification that have gone above and beyond. Goodwood Products being one of them. They are a local business. I got to meet Jennifer, and her business model is amazing. They pretty much use excess wood shavings from mills and surplus wood from forest cleanups to create these wood logs that are used for fireplaces, wood stoves, and outdoor fire pits. And for her profits, she's also contributing to planting more trees. And the highest certification goes to Cal Giant, who obtained zero waste certification last year. This is a national rigorous certification that they achieved. And to share a little bit more about their journey on why they chose to take on sustainability, I am going to be inviting Eric Valenzuela, Director of Sustainability for Cal Giant, to share a little bit more. Eric, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Hilda. So thank you, City of Watsonville, and thank you, Mayor Dutra, for this recognition. On behalf of our owners, Bill Monkovich, Frank Severia, and our president, Joe Barcy, California Giant Berry Farms has always been focused on having a sustainable business that cares for the environment and the hardworking people that makes it possible. We support our growing partners with their efforts to farm for the future and set that path with the company's three pillars to approach this of sustainability. And they are people, planet, and product. One way that we could exemplify our dedication to sustainability was to walk the walk and set a goal for our company headquarters to become zero waste certified. Doing so meant that the building had to achieve a minimum 90% diversion rate for solid, non-hazardous waste away from the landfill. So by true definition of teamwork, every staff member did their part and we were successful in that. This certification validates our efforts and will keep us accountable to maintain and continue to improve upon these results moving forward. So we're happy to serve as a guide, a mentor to other businesses in Watsonville and beyond, and hope that together we can cultivate a sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, and congratulations on being an environmental leader in our community. Congratulations to all 17 businesses that received Green Business Certification and beyond for 2020 to 2021. I encourage you to visit greenbusinesscalifornia.org to see a full list of all green businesses certified here in the city of Watsonville. But I want to end this with a video that we put together for Earth Day. I want to thank our partners, Environmental Innovations, and their team, Maria Corona and Brooke Wright, for their leadership and guidance of our small business community. And I also want to thank Digital Nest for putting together this awesome video. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you to all the businesses who are, moving forward in a green way. We really appreciate that here in our community. We are having a technical issue right now. So,
Mayor, we're gonna show the video. Just give it a moment. It's
oh,
a
okay.
2-minute video that Hilda prepared for this item.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ale.
The Watsonville Green Business Program achieved an incredible milestone this year. After the city launched its own program in 2019, we are happily celebrating 51 certified green businesses on the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. The program includes longtime and new participants, ranging from Martinelli's to the Pajaro Valley Kitchen Incubator. We'd like to introduce a few Watsonville businesses who received their Green Business Certification.
My name is Hilda Fernandez, and I'm the owner of ABC Daycare. My mission and value is to pass over to the kids the importance of keeping Earth clean and safe.
Hi, my name is Yesenia Jimenez. My job title is Watershed Educator and Restoration Specialist, and I work for Watsonville Wetlands Watch. The reason we decided to become a green business was that we want to have as small of a carbon footprint as possible and lead by example.
We're especially proud to include our services in Spanish to expand our support of the local small business community.
Mi nombre es Ever Deras, yo soy uno de los dueños de Dos Hermanos Pupusería, que es una pupusería móvil. Nosotros nos unimos al programa de Green Business para tratar de ayudar al medio ambiente a prevenir la contaminación y prevenir un poco la tala de árboles usando cosas reciclables y biodegradables que contribuyan a mantener nuestro medio ambiente más limpio para dejar un mejor ambiente para las futuras generaciones.
Our work is an important puzzle piece to the city's climate action planning. The more businesses we certify, the closer the city gets to achieving its goals.
My name is Natalie Olivas. I'm the community organizer with Regeneración Pajaro Valley Climate Action. Regeneración chose to go green because it fits with our climate action mission to build a sustainable and equitable future for everyone.
We're proud to be a part of the city of Watsonville, so committed to the strength and resiliency of its small business community.
This was so awesome. Thank you, Hilda, for that presentation. Thank you to the Digital Nest as well for putting that together. We appreciate you both. And thank you for the city for doing this program. Are there any city council members who would like to comment on the program or the green businesses? Am I muted or no? Okay, so we have a issue right now with some people trying to get on. So we're gonna have to take a break, a 10-minute break to restart our system. I don't know, Beatrice, will people be able to just to stay on, or are they gonna have to log back on?
And no, we're gonna end the meeting, and then people will have to, right now people are getting an error and they can't come in. So the only thing that we can think of is to restart the meeting, but we'll end the meeting, everyone will come out, and then everyone has to get it back in.
Okay, so everybody, you will have to go back to the link, the Zoom link, to get back into the meeting. Give us, how many minutes do you think you need to get back on?
10 minutes.
10?
Let's take the 10-minute break. Yeah,
Okay.
6:25.
6:25. I'm so sorry. I know that a lot of people are here for the consent agenda, and I know we'll be getting to this next. So if you guys can, if everybody can come back at 6:25, we'd really appreciate this. We're having some problems. So we're gonna close it all right now, and then we'll be back on in 10 minutes. All right, everyone, we're back. I see that some of the people that were having a hard time getting in, I see that they're in. I really, we apologize for that we're dealing with technology. This is the new normal, I guess, the new real. And so things happen. So sorry about that. All right, so let us get back to business. We are now going to move on to our city manager's update.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me here for a moment. Okay, can everyone see my presentation?
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the community. Appreciate your participation this evening and the opportunity to give my monthly update on efforts that are underway. I thought I would go ahead and start with giving an update on our COVID-19 trends and response. We're continuing to see all of our trends moving in a positive direction. As many of you know, Santa Cruz County has now moved into the orange tier, which has been great news for many of our businesses that have been struggling, that can now expand indoor operations and hopefully start getting back on their feet as we start to emerge from this pandemic. The Bay Area ICU capacity is now at 33.3%. That's the highest we've seen it now in several months. Active cases are at 168 in the county. We've unfortunately lost 202 community members. 51% of all cases have been in Watsonville, and that's been a consistent trend all the way through, as our community was harder hit than other parts of the Tri-County. And there are a number of testing locations that continue to be available to the community. I would encourage you to go to santacruz.org/testing if you're interested. On the vaccine front, the 95076 zip code now stands at about 30% fully vaccinated. That's a number I really want to underscore, because it's also representative of our region's percentage of the total county population. It just really shows the significant amount of work that our community partners, county health, and our city team have been successful in ensuring an equitable distribution of the vaccine across the county, and really seeing that needle move, no pun intended, in South County as we move forward with those immunizations. So really great news. In addition to that number, we also have 20% that are partially vaccinated, in addition to the 30% that are now fully vaccinated. So we're making great progress. We still have a lot of work to do, but good work moving forward on that front. And as we've heard, all Californians over the age of 16 will now be eligible for the vaccine beginning on April 15th. Community members can access scheduling for that vaccine at myturn.ca.gov. And I would just encourage all community members to continue taking that opportunity to get vaccinated. It's really the single most powerful way that we will be able to move back to some sense of normalcy and emerge from this pandemic as a community. I wanted to also point out, and again, give some kudos to our staff who have now directly served over 3,000 community members and helping them to get registered for those that needed assistance. Our senior center staff and team members continue to be available to assist community members that may need help in registering. You can see the number here on the screen. We also have a number of vaccine clinics that continue to operate. That includes the location downtown from Thursdays to Mondays. The county fairgrounds are open every Wednesday, and a number of healthcare providers, as well as federal pharmacies in the area, are also administering the vaccine, along with other mass vaccination clinics in other parts of the county. So the good news is there are many locations now where community members can access that. And when we see that eligible population increase for those that are 16 and older, there will be even more opportunities for that. So that's all great news. I know there's a lot of interest around the American Rescue Plan. We're excited and encouraged by Congress's passage of the American Rescue Plan, including the expected $18.8 million that was allocated directly to the city of Watsonville. There's still a lot of unknowns around the plan, but what we do know is that some of the eligible uses include revenue replacement for the provision of government services, as well as revenue loss due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. We also know that COVID-19 expenditures or negative economic impacts, including assistance to small businesses, households, and hard-hit industries, and assisting with economic recovery, are all eligible uses. Now, those are big buckets and obviously very broad categories. And so we have been engaging with the league and GFOA to get better clarity around how the city can access those funds and what they can be used for. And of course, we want to ensure that they're going to areas of greatest need. There's also been some discussion about the funding being available for infrastructure projects, including water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. Our hope is that we'll also be able to use it towards some of the community needs we have, including expanding park space and maintaining our facilities. So more to come on that, but we do plan on bringing a supplemental budget update to the council probably later this summer, once we have a better idea of what the funding could be used
En
for.
cuanto tengamos idea de para qué podemos utilizar
And bring
estos
some
fondos.
plans to the council.
Y vamos a traer esos planes.
I can hear Carlos. For me.
Yeah.
So next up, we're also excited to announce that this week, Parks and Recreation and Community Services team released an RFP for the landscape and architectural and consultant services for the Ramsey Park improvements. This includes several of the master plan elements, from the Sotomayor soccer fields to an inclusive playground. And our hope is that this will be an important next step as we bring these projects forward and have them as shovel ready as we can as we look at the stimulus funding that we're expecting, as well as the potential for a larger infrastructure bill later in the year. So we're committed to making these projects happen as soon as we can financially do so. And I think we'll have some exciting developments on that front in the coming months. With the state of California releasing their guidance for the reopening of youth and adult school-based and recreation sports, we're also excited to announce that Watsonville's Return to Play program is in full effect. You can see that Rex here is pretty excited as well. As COVID guidelines and resources allow, we will be opening with restrictions on April 26th. Some of our programs and sports include adult softball, our itty bitty sports program, our recreational youth soccer program, and our very popular aquatics program this summer. And we're excited to bring back our Camp Wow summer day camp, as well as other fun educational programs over our summer months. So keep an eye on that. You can visit our Parks and Rec website if you're interested in registering for those events. I'm also pleased to share that the new quarter-mile segment extended from Ohlone Parkway to the existing Watsonville Slough trailhead that overlooks our scenic Watsonville Slough and wetlands area is now nearing completion. It is a portion of the trail that will connect the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Scenic Trail. I would encourage all community members to go out and take a look. It's a beautiful segment of trail, and our hope is to continue expanding that as we move forward, connecting many of our great trail networks here in town. As the mayor mentioned, this past Saturday, we held our first workshop and in-person council meeting in over a year. It's held outdoors. It was an opportunity for our council to share their thoughts and ideas and priorities for the coming 2 years. It was really an opportunity for us to reflect on the many challenges that we've overcome over the last year as a community, and to start looking at the years ahead as we plan for the next 2-year cycle. Lots of ideas and priorities discussed, from continuing to move forward with expanding housing opportunities to expanding equitable access to our parks and rec programs, and also continuing to move forward with our downtown revitalization and economic development efforts. So lots more to come on that. Our plan is to align that with our 2-year budget process. And I wanted to again encourage community members to participate in upcoming budget workshops. There's one planned for April 22nd and another on the 24th. And our budget survey is still live. So any community members that have interest in giving input, it's a great opportunity for you to do so. We welcome hearing your thoughts as we move into those discussions. So there's a lot of interest around summer events. Because we continue to move into less restrictive tiers, we are now looking at being able to offer some summer event programming around our traditional holidays. That includes 4th of July, Strawberry Festival, Fire in the Sky, and hopefully some summer concert series. All of these are going to be offered in some shape or form, but they will look different and scaled down from what they have in the past. Our hope is that we will be able to do something for each of these events, and we're working through how to do so safely within CDC guidelines, but we wanted to just put that information out there that we hope to do something. We know how important these events are. And our hope is that by this Labor Day weekend this year in September on the 4th, which is a Saturday, we'll be able to have a community celebration and an airport open house and a fireworks show. So stay tuned for that. Our hope is trends will continue to be positive and we'll be able to offer some events. We have a lot of summer infrastructure projects that are underway. Those include, we're in the process of adding a new well on Roach Road. That project is making progress, and we expect the contractor to mobilize the first week of May, and with drilling to be completed by June. We're now in the design phase for underground sewer and water and utility repair and replacement ahead of the Green Valley and Freedom from Alta Vista to Green Valley projects that will be coming up next year. We expect the utility project to bid in the fall, so those are moving forward as well. And this picture you see is of our Corralitos filter plant roof replacement, which is underway. We have a lot of infrastructure projects that we are now starting to make some progress on. We're also, our community development team is making great progress on the downtown Watsonville specific plan with the draft scenarios of what the future of downtown might look like now starting to take shape. We have an advisory committee meeting on April 28th and another community workshop on May 6th. And again, those are great opportunities for our community to be part of those discussions. I also just want to bring our community's attention to the proposed utility rates. The Prop 218 notice advising of the proposed utility rate increases was mailed on Friday, April 2nd, and began hitting mailboxes on Monday, April 5th. The item is scheduled to be presented to the City Council on May 25th for a public hearing and formal vote. And those mailings also make clear exactly how a community member, if they want to give input on it, or vote on the item, how to do so. So I would just encourage you to read those thoroughly. If you have questions, you can reach out to our customer service team with our Public Works Department. But we look forward to hearing from you as we move through that discussion. And then lastly, as always, I want to share my contact information. I always appreciate hearing from our community members. If you have questions, comments, or any item you might want to talk about, or just want to grab a cup of coffee, please do reach out. And I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you. I would like to get a cup of coffee. Please get me on your list. Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, Matt. I wanted to know are we still providing vaccinations at our old City Hall building? Because today I passed by Union Street and I saw that the entrance to the parking lot was open, whereas it had been closed in the past.
That site is still active, Councilmember Garcia. It's open Thursday through Monday.
Okay.
And the days outside of that, the parking lot's reopened for the general public, which is why you probably noticed it wasn't closed off. But we still have a steady stream of folks moving through there Thursday through Monday.
Thursday through Monday. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or clarifications? Thank you. I just want to, clarify. It's so great to hear you talk about Freedom Boulevard. Everybody asks when we're going to start working on that again. It's good to know that it'll be starting next year, it sounds like. So we're in the development phase now. So you said that, was I clear? Are you guys going to be continuing to put the wires underground from the telephone poles like you did at the beginning of Freedom Boulevard? Will that be part of that project?
I know when we have opportunities for doing so, we always look at those. One of the items you have on your consent agenda is also related to the plan map as part of Freedom Boulevard as we work through that. Later this evening, Mayor Dutra, you're going to hear from Director Palmisano as well as Maria Esther on all of our street infrastructure projects. So they could also give you more updates around timing for Freedom as well. It's a large corridor, obviously, so we've been trying to attack it in phases.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I look forward to having that conversation with them later this evening. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Now we're going to move on with our update report on 2030 Climate Action Adaptation Plan by Director Palmisano and his team. I guess I'll let Director Palmisano introduce his team and who's going to be speaking. You're on mute. Steve, you're on mute.
Oops. Am I ready now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, Mayor Dutra and members of the City Council and members of the community. Really happy to be here tonight to give you an update on our Climate Action and Adaptation Plan for 2030. It's been in the works for quite some time, and we have a nice presentation for you tonight. Maybe we could go to the next slide, Alex. we have a kind of a double header tonight, actually. So we have an update on our climate action plan given by Alex Yazbek, who is a senior engineer with the Department of Public Works, and Christy Castle, who is our outreach manager. They're going to give us an update. And then once we go through that presentation, do some questions and answers on that, then we'll be also inviting in Regeneracion to do an update on the electric vehicle equity program. And so that'll be by Natalie Olivas and Mariela Lopez, who are both with Regeneracion. And we look forward to that. We have a wonderful community partnership going with them and a lot of other ideas in the works also. So it's a great partnership. Also, finally, I wanted to just take a moment to thank council members Estrada, Garcia, and Gonzalez for being our subcommittee on the Climate Action Plan. And they have provided us great guidance along the way and will continue to do so as this will be going on for quite some time. So thank you for that. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Alex to walk us through the presentation.
Thank you, Steve. Just checking, can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So I'd like to begin with a two-part land acknowledgement. So the first part of this is really just to acknowledge that we are living on unceded land that was taken from Indigenous people who were the original inhabitants of this land. The second part of that of the land acknowledgement is to recognize that we are all
I think there's a noise.
People.
Does anyone else hear that? Sorry,
somewhere in the world, and that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the lands, just like those who came before us. So moving on, there are dozens of regulations when it comes to climate change in the state of California, but the most relevant are these three. So the first one is SB 32, and this is requires that the state reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to 40% below what they were in 1990 levels by 2030.
Oh, there we go, it's gone.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Sorry, can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to start over.
Should I go back to the land acknowledgement, or did we get that?
Start over. It was
okay. I'll start over then. Sorry about that. So I'd like to begin with the land acknowledgement. And the first part of this is to acknowledge that we are living on unceded land that was taken from Indigenous people who were the original inhabitants of this land. And the second part of this acknowledgement is to recognize that we are all descendants of Indigenous people from somewhere in the world, and that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the lands, just like those who came before us. So moving on to the regulatory framework for our climate action work, three most significant legal requirements here are SB 32, which requires that the state of California reduce its greenhouse gas emissions to 40% below 1990 levels by 2030. The second significant piece of legislation is the governor's executive order requiring that California become carbon neutral by 2045. And the third piece here is the executive order called the California Biodiversity Collaborative, which is really just requiring that we start protecting our ecosystems. And so the significant part for the city is that we have to do our fair share of reductions to help the state meet these targets. And essentially we need to align with these targets. So we are well along in the process of creating our 2030 climate action and adaptation plan. And the reason that we are able to do this quickly and efficiently is because we have so much to build off of. We have our existing plans, the 2015 climate action plan. We have our urban greening plan. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Alex, do you have something's going on with your microphone? It's creating this screeching noise. Do you have another option? Because people do want to hear you better.
Is it screeching now?
Yeah.
Still awkward?
It's going in and out. I think it's out. Yeah, it's going in and out. So I think it's something with you when you're holding. I don't know. Can you just do the speaker off of your screen? Oh, see, the noise is back. I don't know.
Let me see if I can find a I have a headset here. I can try this. See if I can make this work.
The pressure.
I know.
Okay, now.
Okay, can anyone hear me now? No,
The
nothing.
noise still there.
Mariesta, any ideas?
Alex, out of curiosity, do you have speakers plugged into your PC? Because it may be interference between those.
So I apologize. Can anyone hear me at this point?
Do you have speakers plugged into your PC?
Is the noise back, Mariesta?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that might be.
Alex, if you mute your computer and call on the phone, call one of the numbers on the phone and use the
Mariesta,
phone.
do you have a headset I could borrow? Is that possible? So I'm going to try to get onto Mariesta's computer. Steve, are you possible to take this slide at this point?
Yeah, I'll take this one and you run over there.
Again, we're live, everybody. This is what happens. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We appreciate all your support.
Okay, so what we're gonna talk about on this slide is just the fact that the 2030 Climate Action Plan really is built on a number of different existing and ongoing efforts. For example, the 2015 Climate Action Plan, our Urban Greening Plan, the Complete Streets to School Plan, our recently completed Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, which will actually serve as the foundation for many of our climate adaptation measures, an environmental justice element, which is in the works and is deeply connected to the work we're doing on the Climate Action Plan. We've also recently received a green infrastructure grant, and Parks Department has received an urban forestry grant, which will also help us do a lot of tree planting and urban forestry projects in our community. So there are a lot of different projects and programs that are the foundation for our climate action plan. So yeah, so that's the next slide. And while Alex is trying to connect in on this other computer,
We lost the presentation, just so you know.
yeah, we lost the presentation. So I wonder. What we could do is, all right. Okay. All right. While we're waiting for Alex, I'll keep going. So Public Works is the lead on this project, and we work very closely with our Community Development Department, and along with also our Parks and Community Services Department, Solid Waste Division, City Manager's Office, and the airport. And of course, we have a lot of community engagement in this, and work closely with our consultant, Harrison Associates. The next slide is our stakeholders. We have quite a lot of community stakeholders because this is a very diverse and community-wide effort. It is not something the city can do on our own. It is something we have to do in partnership with many, many other agencies. So you see a lot of community agencies, nonprofits, other governmental agencies, land trusts, you name them, school district, other cities, other counties. And so this is a great community-wide effort that we're hoping to serve as sort of a focal point, a clearinghouse, a way to bring all the different efforts of the community together and find some synergy and find some collaboration through our climate action plan work. So
And Steve, I'm back, so I'm happy to take over if you.
Great. Thank
So,
you, Alex.
I'm not actually Maria Esta, I'm just using her screen.
All right.
So the next part of this presentation is to give you the background information we use to construct the plan. And so we try to take a very holistic approach. We try to incorporate climate action, which are all the different ways we can stop producing greenhouse gases. Climate adaptation, all the ways that we can prepare for climate change that is coming, and restoration, which is the process of repairing the damage that we've done to our natural environment. And so all of this comes together to really create a plan that the goal is to create a healthy, strong community. So next slide. And so once we have that basis, we end up actually with a whole bunch of strategies. And we've divided those strategies into 10 focus areas. And you see those focus areas in front of you there. And those underlying principles inform this process of creating the strategies. So we have the 10 focus areas. There's about 80 strategies and about 130 specific actions that we have out of this. So there was a list included in the staff report that was submitted to council. That didn't even cover all of the strategies that we have. And part of the reason is we're still working on them, some are ongoing. So there's a mix of things going on here. And in the final climate action and adaptation plan that we bring to council in the fall will have everything in it. But what I'm going to do now is go through all 10 of the focus areas just to give you an idea of what we are looking at in each one of these areas. So next slide. So beginning with transportation, this is actually the biggest cause of greenhouse gas, or the biggest single area where we generate greenhouse gases in Watsonville. And about 50% of our emissions come from transportation. So the goal here is to decrease greenhouse gas emissions from the high level of personal car usage. And we talk a lot about vehicle miles traveled, VMT, and this is the technical term for how many miles are people driving. And so all the ways that we try and reduce vehicle miles traveled. I was going to emphasize the rail trail. The city manager focused on that, so I'll skip that part. But something really exciting that's happening in this community represents a lot of hard work, a lot of grants that the city has obtained to make this a reality. The other thing I want to point out is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there, that image is meant to represent telecommuting, the concept that you're avoiding vehicles mile traveled when you telecommute, like we're all doing right now. Hopefully you didn't have to drive to attend this meeting. So that's a benefit for the environment. So next slide. So second biggest contributor of greenhouse gases is energy usage. And so our goal here is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions through the use of renewable energy and energy conservation. And so we use a lot of renewable energy, either electricity that we've generated ourselves with our own solar panels, or through electricity that we've purchased from our energy company, which is 3CE, Central Coast Community Energy. And the next part of this, the next phase of improving our energy is a transition from natural gas to electricity. And we do that because our electricity is clean, whereas every time we use natural gas, we generate greenhouse gases. And we have to do that equitably. This is something that is potentially difficult and costly, and we need to make sure that this transition happens in a way that is fair for everyone. And along with that, there are going to be some grid improvements that are needed to make sure that our electricity is delivered in a way that works for everyone. So next slide. So wastewater and solid waste, personal favors. And this is looking at all the ways we can manage waste streams in a way that we turn waste into resources and also reduce methane production. And so two big things happening here. One is the food waste program. And this is important because rotting food produces a lot of methane. And so this is a new program that the city is required to implement, where we will actually be collecting food waste from residents. And that will be taken to Monterey, where it will be converted into biogas, and that'll be turned into renewable energy. The other exciting thing is we're exploring converting biosolids and organic waste into biochar. And that's a charcoal-like soil amendment. And the reason I say it's exciting is because currently the city spends a lot of money trucking that waste to the Central Valley. And we could potentially not truck it to the Central Valley. That would be a big win and just emissions reduced, but also turning something that's currently a waste product into something that is useful, that's a soil amendment that we could potentially even sell in bags to residents like Watsonville Gold, put it in your yard. So that's focus area number 3. We'll move on to number 4. And this is housing, building codes, and ordinances. And this is all the things we can do to create a vibrant, thriving city, even with all the impacts of climate change. So how do we change our built environment to be just a beneficial place to live because of the regulations that we are implementing? And these are things like requiring trees by ordinance, mandating green building practices, and of course, smart growth. And the best example of smart growth is the new downtown specific plan. And I do need to mention that CDD, our Community Development Department, has just been really amazing in helping to make this happen. So next slide. So focus area number 5 is agriculture, water, and food adaptation. And this is looking at ways of changing or adopting different agricultural practices that sequester carbon, build soil, conserve water, and prepare for climate change. And just to clear this up, sequestering carbon is this concept of taking excess carbon out of the air and putting it back into the ground where it essentially belongs. So just different farming practices, and we would really need to rely on our partner agencies to make this happen. So it's not something that the city can do on our own. Another program just want to point out is the sort of Eat Local campaign that we're considering. And that would be a way to encourage local restaurants, local supermarkets to really use local produce, food that's been produced around Watsonville. So next one. Next focus area is restoration and reversing pollution. And these are the ways that we promote living in harmony with nature, healing the land, viewing our earth as sacred. So of course, planting trees. I love planting trees. I hope everyone loves planting trees. You just feel good when you plant a tree. And then really important is the wetland restoration. So we partner with Watsonville Wetlands Watch. And the reason this is potentially really exciting from a climate change perspective is our wetlands and sluice system may be soaking up a lot of carbon dioxide. We don't really know yet because we haven't had we haven't yet studied it, but it's something exciting to look forward to is what's actually happening in our wetland system. And just to, again, highlight, we partner with Watsonville Wetlands Watch. I know the city's working on them on a project in Struve Slough, where there's about $600,000 of grant funds that are being allocated to do wetland restoration. So next slide, please. Okay, environmentally responsible finance. So sometimes climate strategies are not that obvious. Things that you don't really think are climate strategies might actually be climate strategies. And this is an example of one of those things. And really, it's how do we align our financial policies with the goals of our climate action plan? How do we utilize finance in a way that's beneficial to the environment and our community? So this is looking at things like, are we using responsible investment with all of our city accounts? Could we support things like public banking, where the city would actually be a part owner in the bank that the city would use for its own banking, which would allow profits to be returned to the city, lower interest rates to be charged, and essentially have a really good benefit for the community. This strategy area also includes things like developing a green purchasing policy for the city. So next slide. Number 8, neighborhood and community. And this is looking at all the ways that we can build stronger, more connected neighborhoods, just bringing communities together. And we recognize that so much climate action work has to happen at a community level, at a neighbor to neighbor level. And so we have everything from promoting community gardening to getting neighbors to connect so that they can help each other prepare for natural disasters, mutual aid programs, the creation of repair workshops, possibly a tool lending library, and using our resource conservation center, used to be called the Nature Center, as a hub for the community to come to get resources and information that they need. Number 9. Number 9 is policy and public health. And this is recognizing that some of the things we need to prepare for climate change are beyond what the city can do on our own. And this is where we use our political power to really advocate for those things that we need. So that may be anything from better public health services to potentially the creation of a regional climate action plan so that everyone in our region benefits from having some sort of plan to address climate change. And then the last focus area, number 10, is equitable green COVID recovery. And this is a brand new strategy. We didn't even have it on the books a year ago for obvious reasons. But the concept here is to make sure that when we get our recovery money, that we use it in a way that bolsters our climate action work, that it integrates with our climate action work, and that we use this in a way that really benefits our community and our climate action and furthers our climate action goals. So those are the 10 focus areas. And with that, I'd like to go to the next slide and hand off to Christy, who's going to discuss community engagement.
Thank you. So in order to ensure that our climate action plan is equitable and inclusive, we've been engaging the community throughout the whole planning process. To do so, we formed a community advisory committee that has 60 members representing different sectors of the community and who don't traditionally participate in the local decision-making processes. This committee helps us to inform city staff on the environmental justice element, the climate strategies, community outreach. They make sure that our language is accessible and understandable for all residents. They also are super helpful to support us in getting more community members to participate in this whole process. As you heard earlier, we're also engaging, I think, over 30 stakeholders throughout this whole process and probably throughout the next 10 years to look for opportunities for regional collaboration and partnership. We have also launched 2 bilingual surveys, which I'll talk in the next slide. And once we have our climate action plan in draft form, we will start with community meetings to get more community input and feedback, hopefully around June or so. Next slide, please. So at the beginning of this process in July, we launched our first survey to get a sense of the community's feelings and concerns about climate change. Then in November, we launched a second survey to find out what were the types of programs and initiatives that our community are wanting to see in this plan. We provided examples of programs that we are considering and gave people an opportunity to vote and add other ideas. And all of these responses have been included in our climate action plan and are available in our website. And although the pandemic has made it really challenging to engage the community in person, we got a little creative and were able to get over 1,300 responses for both of the surveys. Next slide, please. Some of the results that we got from the surveys include 60% of the participants said it's very important that we reduce emissions to 0 before the year 2045. 81% feel that it's very important that we invest in electric grid improvements to prevent power shutoffs. And some of the top priorities that were identified are to increase food system securities and storage, investment in water conservation, and improvement in sustainable building practices. So all of this information has been compiled and included in our climate action plan, which we will bring later as a draft form. Next slide. The last thing that we want to share here is that we received a new state grant to fund 2 Action Corp fellows who are developing and piloting a couple programs in the community to make a more connected community, a more climate resilient and prepared community. Some of the programs that they are piloting are increasing our composting, home composting program, and more gardeners in our community so that they can be more resilient and have food system security. They're also working in partnership with Wetlands Watch to increase our urban canopy through tree plantings, and doing workshops and material distribution for climate preparedness. So you can see the little picture of the little backpack there. We're calling them the go bags to make sure that you're ready in case of a wildfire or earthquake. What's that? Oh. And with that, I will turn it to Alex, and he'll talk to you about the timeline.
Thank you. If we can go to the next slide, that'd be great. So here you can see our timeline for completing the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. So back in July of last year, we started our first survey. September of last year, we had our first Community Advisory Committee meeting. November, December of last year, we had our second survey. And then February of this year, we had our second Community Advisory Committee meeting. And we really try to integrate all of our survey results and try and make that inform our strategies as much as we could. So last month, we started on the draft plan, and we also initiated the California Environmental Quality Act, the CEQA process for this plan. And that is about a 6-month process. It's very important because it really creates a certified document, which is a legal requirement for a planning document. So we're in April right now. Here we are presenting to council. And by June, we hope to have community meetings where the public can comment on the draft plan. At the same time, we hope to launch the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan website. And at some point in the fall, we will be bringing the final plan to council for approval. So next slide. We have questions and discussions.
Thank you for that presentation. That was very detailed, and it's good to know what's going on in our community. Councilmember Garcia, you're on mute.
When am I going to remember? Alex and Christy, thank you for that comprehensive report. I recently attended a symposium for the community by Regeneración. The focus was the impact of climate change on women. My question is, can there be any language added to the plan about women and climate change?
Absolutely, yes. We would be happy to do that. And we will check in with our friends at Regeneración and see what kind of information was discussed. And if you have any particular topics of interest you'd like to see included, please let us know, and we're happy to work on that.
Okay, and my second question goes actually to Steve. In our strategic planning on Saturday, in which you and Christian were there was mention of infrastructure for climate change, but other than a tree ordinance, there wasn't any mention of activities to address the environment. Do you have an understanding to what extent the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan will be included in the strategic plan?
I believe that would be up to council to make that decision. It really is the city council policy decision what to include in the strategic plan. But certainly the climate action plan could be somehow included in the strategic plan.
So
if
Matt,
council so desired.
So Matt, I'll be asking you then, do we have to wait until the draft comes to us before we can suggest that, or can I suggest it right now?
Well, Councilmember Garcia, I certainly think the climate and adaptation plan will fit very directly under the council's priority around infrastructure and environment. We had a lot of discussion, as you know, on Saturday about that very topic. So we would anticipate when we bring the draft strategic plan forward that you will see that climate action and adaptation plan as one of the implementation measures under that priority.
Sounds great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Montesino.
Yeah, just like, a really well thought out plan. And I want to commend you in getting all that, all those partnerships and getting all those surveys done, including this pandemic. I just want to commend you getting all that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Comments? Go, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, comment. First, I'd like to thank staff for their hard work and for taking their time with us, being on that committee. I know we asked them some questions and you guys were really, really good, thoughtful about it. Comment on the biochar. I'm excited about the biochar too. It's just kind of like one of those money-making things. And anytime we can make money for the city, it's good. The climate adaptation plan actually hopefully is going to save us money in the long run as a community, which is kind of like making money for the community in a sense. And so that's a good thing. But I wanted to follow up with Councilwoman Rebecca Garcia's comments on the climate adaptation plan. And the city manager say that, it kind of goes in with the infrastructure and our other items that we have there. But can we make it a standalone goal for our strategic plan? I think I wanted to probably make a motion that if it was possible to do that, to make it a standalone. Is that possible?
That's certainly possible, Councilmember Gonzalez. We had also, just reflecting on the council's input on Saturday, thought that having a standalone environmental stewardship priority would make sense given the amount of work happening. The climate action and adaptation plan is really an implementation measure, right? It's a reflection of your priorities, but I think the overarching priority is around environmental stewardship and leadership, which Watsonville has done a lot of work in that front, as Alex has talked about tonight. So it's our intention of structuring the draft strategic plan in that way, and ultimately the council gets to make a decision as to what you want your priorities to be.
I guess my question is, would it be appropriate to make a motion at the end of this to make it a standalone goal for our strategic plan?
It can't be done tonight because it wasn't agendized.
It was only a report, so there was no action to be taken on this.
Okay,
this is an information item, but just know, Councilmember Gonzalez, that we were thinking along those same lines, and we will be including that as an option when we bring the strategic plan back.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor. The community banking idea is just one that I'm truly fascinated by, and just a couple of questions on it. Does it take a certain amount to start a community bank? I imagine there's just a number of legal and just a number of things that we would have to do to be able to establish something like that. But I just want to know how feasible that is, and if there's political will around such an interesting concept like that.
So thank you. That's a really great question. So to give you a better idea of where the process is, there's a group pushing for it through Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Benito, and I think Santa Barbara County, but I'm not positive on that one. But the idea is that once you have a large enough community to support it, it's a viable concept, and it's actually a bank that would serve only cities, counties, large organizations. So it wouldn't even necessarily compete with credit unions or the type of consumer banking that is more typical.
And I believe that the group that is pushing this this concept is at the phase where they are funding a feasibility study, and they may even have asked the city for a financial contribution to help fund that study. But that's about the most I know about it. But I agree with you. It's a very exciting concept. I think it has strong parallels to Central Coast Community Energy, in that it's the city taking ownership of something that was previously held by private investors. And so I agree. I think it's a really wonderful concept.
Thank you for the answer there, Alex. I appreciate that. And I just want to ask, I also want to know, like, I want the community to know, like, I mean, how aggressive is this plan? Because climate change is probably going to be the challenge of our lifetime. And I want to know that we're pushing the envelope, that we're going above and beyond. And if you feel like we're not going above and beyond, are there additional steps that we can continue to take so that we do push the bar a little bit on this?
I'm happy to answer first, but I also want to give Steve and Christy a chance if they want to weigh in. I think this plan is very aggressive. I think it's also very wide-reaching, and we also want to make it realistic. And I think that's the balance we're trying to strike. What can we realistically achieve as a community? How do we pick goals that are realistic but do require ambition? And I think we're really trying to figure out where that sweet spot is of just being realistic for our community. And again, a lot of what this includes is all of those stakeholder partners that we have, because we recognize that to make this happen, we can't go alone. We have to make this a regional issue. We have to include our neighboring jurisdictions, and we have to include all of the stakeholders that we have, because it really requires everyone to play a part in making these things happen. It also requires that we start accepting that things in the future may not look the way they used to look in the past, and it's hard to come to terms with that. And I have a lot of sympathy for everyone for everyone, because we're all in this together, and it's a tough place to be. But I think as long as we keep a focus on creating a community that's healthy, that people feel like they're living good lives, that's really one of the biggest focuses I would like to make sure is followed in this plan. So I'll stop there. Steve, Christy, would you like to add anything?
I think you characterize it quite well, Alex. We wanted to be very visionary in the document. We wanted to put in as many strategies and action measures as we could. The key is now kind of figuring out the realistic timeline of when we can actually implement these various phases. So that's the next step for us in the planning process, is to, okay, out of this suite of 120 actions, in 60 strategies, what can we really do? What can we do in collaboration with our partners, locally, and also going large, going regionally, so we have a lot of different options there that we're going to be looking at. So, Central Coast Community Energy is going to be a really big part of this, since that is, one of the big chunks. Regional transportation is another big piece of it. So there's a lot of things we're going to have to do regionally, but at the same time, we want to really do this as a grassroots kind of ground up community-based movement as well, because we're also working to change the minds and hearts of people in our community to really prepare them for the changes that we're all going to have to make in order to prepare and adapt to climate change. So there's a lot of work kind of at the local, regional, and federal level, really. So, I mean, yeah, so we're trying to create a plan that will be able to be flexible enough to move up and down those various levels of implementation. So.
Thank you for that. Very thoughtful. Christy, I don't know if did you want to add something?
No, I think they covered it all.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your thoughtfulness in all of this, and I do want to echo what Aurelio said and what the city manager said, because, you know, if it's finding its own place in the strategic plan, or fitting it into all the other pieces, because climate change really does affect all the other parts of the strategic plan. And so I do appreciate that we're having this conversation, that we're going to find it a proper place for climate change. And so thank you. And those are my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. I just have a quick comment. I saw in the picture that there was looked like a brand new conservation center. Is that part of the Ramsey Park plan? Or, I mean, I was really excited. I think the community would really like that. What's the story on that?
It's a vision right now. It's a vision.
Oh, well, I like that vision. So
Yes.
How do we make that a reality? Is it in any of our?
Well, you know, we were just talking with Parks about that today, and they're also very interested in it. And yeah, we're gonna start a design process so that we can be shovel ready and be looking for implementation and construction funding. So we are going to start designing at least so that we can shop around for some grants, which look to be very hopeful in the near future. So.
Okie dokie. Thank you. All right, you guys, thank you for your presentation, and a lot of good things happening, especially around climate and climate change. And we appreciate you being on the front lines.
And
all
so,
right.
Part 2 of our presentation.
Oh, we have another part?
Is Regeneración is going to give an update on their electrical vehicle equity program. So we do need to make sure they have been moved to panelists, Natalie Olivas and Mariela Lopez. And then I believe they're going to share a screen and give a short presentation on that update. There's Natalie. Great.
Hi, thanks so much for that super amazing and progressive climate action plan. Super excited to be a part of it. Okay. So is Mariela here?
Yes, she is.
Yes, I'm right here. Perfect. So let's go back to the first slide. Okay, so I am Natalie Olivas. I'm the community organizer with Regeneración.
Hi, and I am Mariela Lopez. I am the EV Equity Coordinator.
And today we're here to talk to you about our project we're working on called Central Coast Electric for All. So I'll be covering a little bit about the project overview and why we have chosen to work on electric vehicles. And then Mariela will cover the purchase guidance program and talk about some of the incentives. So Central Coast Electric for All project is a collaborative effort to increase awareness around what it means to own an electric vehicle and to provide guidance on the process of purchasing an EV. The common perception is that electric vehicles are for the wealthy. When people think of EVs, they think of Teslas and in-home charging ports, but those aren't the only options. The purpose of this project is to bust that myth and help people explore the wide range of EVs and charging options available. And the other part of this project is one-on-one assistance to navigate that purchasing process. So we're working in collaboration with our partners to spread EV education from Santa Cruz County all the way down to Ventura. And so we have Action who's leading the project, and we have a wonderful array of community partners, Green Power working in Monterey and San Benito County, Community Environmental Council working in San Luis Obispo, Ventura, and Santa Barbara. And we at Regeneración are focusing here in Watsonville. So our project goals, first is for people to learn about these programs. We are aiming to reach 150,000 people with our education campaigns. This includes things like free bilingual webinars and outreaching to local partners. The idea is to demystify electric vehicles, answering questions like, can I drive an EV if I live in an apartment? Are there charging stations in my area? Can I go on a cross-country road trip in an EV? The answer to all of those are yes. Secondly, people get all the funding they qualify for. So there are so many rebates and grants out there, and the applications can seem really confusing and intimidating. So our team of staff and volunteers is constantly staying up to date on what funding is available. If we don't have the answers, we will find them. We have a really amazing volunteers and staff. Last, people get clean transportation that works for them. So our one-on-one assistance helps navigate the process of choosing new or used, buying or leasing, installing an at-home charging station, or using pay stations. We are here to figure out what works best for every individual or family. And so I won't really go into this because Alex touched in on state goals, but basically electrifying transportation is a really key part in meeting our climate goals. So I will say that putting every single person in an electric vehicle is not a sustainable response to climate action. However, to meet state and local climate goals, we do need, most people to consider electric vehicle as an option over a gas-powered car. So this project is really just a larger part of sustainable transportation. I hope my internet's okay. I got a bad sign. And then finally, to touch on the equity, there's the justice aspect of transportation. Black and brown communities like Watsonville breathe in disproportionate amounts of air pollution, and disadvantaged communities have done the least to cause the climate crisis. However, we can still be at the center of solutions. So EVs are really a win-win situation. They're affordable and they're the least polluting cars on the market. So EV costs are going down and incentives are going up. So these are a really smart financial choice for most families. And in many cases, they are even more affordable than gas cars. So now you all know a little bit about the program. I'm going to pass it over to Mariela.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, so as Natalie mentioned, we are partnering with other orgs in California to bring awareness to low-income minority communities about their access to affordable, clean energy electric vehicles. So we do this through our Electric for All Purchase Guidance Program, and we provide person-to-person assistance through the entire EV purchasing or leasing process. We help connect income-qualified residents with grants and rebates for new and used hybrid or electric vehicles. The chart above lists the maximum qualifying income based on a participant's household size, which is used to gauge what incentives you can qualify for. However, those who fall outside of these income boundaries are still eligible for grants and rebates. As purchase guidance advisors, we help by answering questions about EV model differences, the mileage, the range they can travel on electric batteries, and the charging basics. But most importantly, we help navigate incentive application process and finding which ones our participants benefit from the most on an individual basis and need. So with that, our goal is to assist participants from Santa Cruz to Ventura counties, as Natalie mentioned, with Regeneracion's focus being specifically on Watsonville residents. Overall, we hope to assist 400 participants through our purchase guidance program with an end goal of reaching 225 EV purchases or leases. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our electric vehicle incentives are broken down by grants, rebates, and then a subsection of grants for solar panels and EV charging stations. So as noted, eligible households qualify for no-cost solar system installation or reduced cost EV charging equipment installation. Individually, the grants listed above, although it's not all the grants that are available, they award up to $5,000 each, and combined, these grants and rebates can provide a participant up to $14,000 in assistance towards the purchase or lease of an electric vehicle. So these grants are money that applicants receive upfront, which can be used as a down payment for an electric vehicle or to help finance the monthly payments of their EV. It is money that is yours to keep and does not need to be paid back. And as for the rebates, you receive that money as well, and it's yours to keep, but that comes after the purchase of an electric vehicle has been completed. And these grants are provided by different federal programs as well as state and local programs. And through our program, we assist participants in finding these grants and letting them know which ones they qualify for based on their area and their needs. So the amount that you receive is dependent on income, as mentioned before, and the size of the electric vehicle's battery. So just to give an example, households making under $100,000 with a family of 4 can qualify for up to $11,000 in incentives, which could pay for the entire cost of a 3-year electric vehicle lease. Next slide, please. Great. So this is just what our electric vehicle purchase guidance survey looks like, and the link is provided on the slide. But I also just want to mention that Regeneración does not benefit financially from the purchase or lease of an electric vehicle, and we're not directly selling EVs to our program participants. We are here to serve as a resource and help our participants navigate their decision-making process. In the end, we can all benefit from EVs because they reduce emissions and contribute to a healthier, more stable future for our planet. Next slide. Yeah, so here this is a website where you can find the link to the survey that I mentioned, and you can find more information about our program and the purchase guidance assistance. And that is the evsforeveryone.org. Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, so that concludes our presentation on electric vehicles. But like I mentioned, electric vehicles are just one small part of climate action. So feel free to connect with us on our website or social media to learn more about our other climate action in the area. And then you can contact Mariela or myself with any questions. And that's it. We can open up for questions.
Great, thank you for the report. Are there any questions from the City Council? Councilmember Garcia?
Yes, this question is actually to Steve. Steve, how many city-owned EV charging stations do we have?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we have around 10. Do you know, Alex?
Yes, I believe we have 4 public-facing chargers, and we have about 6 that are reserved for city electric vehicles, which are not public-facing.
And so I have no idea where those 4 public stations are. And so how do we find out where they are?
So there's one across from the plaza. There is one on the 4th floor of the civic of the city office building, and there are 2 on the ground floor of the parking structure that's part of the civic center. Typically, drivers of electric vehicles will get an app on their smartphone so they can find charging stations wherever they happen to be. And all of the city's public-facing charging stations are on the common apps that people have.
Okay, and so with this possible more electric cars being purchased in Watsonville, do you think we're going to need more charging stations?
Absolutely. And so there are a large number of private charging stations going in, but the city is actively applying for grants to put in more charging stations. And so just last month, we submitted an application for 8 additional charging stations, 4 for the old City Hall parking lot, and 4 more for the Civic Plaza building. And we're discussing additional locations. It's definitely something that we are pursuing and trying to determine if, for example, Ramsey Park should be a place that we put EV charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're aware of it, and we're pushing hard to make sure that it happens.
Great. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor. Natalie, Mariela, thank you for the presentation. Very informative. I'm sort of wondering, and I'm sorry if you spoke about this, I went to the bathroom for a moment. I know that the state, right, has asked or has sort of said that we're not going to make, what is it, like gas vehicles by 2030, 2035. I guess my question is, I mean, how's that gonna? I mean, I'm sort of wondering, like, are people gonna be discouraged from driving those cars as well, or are we gonna make that transition as a culture to the EV? You know, I'm sort of having a little trouble formulating the question, but I mean, how does that state decree sort of affect all of this?
I can try and touch on that, but I don't know that I'll have a full answer. But from my understanding is that there will be no more production of gas-powered vehicles by so people will probably still have gas cars. So it will depend what the state and federal government do to begin the phase out of completely removing ourselves from fossil fuels. So I don't know, maybe things like buyback programs for gas-powered vehicles and stuff like that. But not completely sure what that looks like yet.
It'll probably still be production, I would imagine, because southern states will probably have a hard time buying into this, I would imagine.
Well, I just I sort of feel like you're laying the groundwork, obviously, for that shift that we're already gradually making, and just one last thing. I think if I had to give one top reason, the top two reasons to maybe try to convince somebody to purchase an EV vehicle, what would be the top two reasons, maybe a young person, to make that shift?
I think it really depends person to person. Like for me as a young person, my thing would be the sustainability benefits, to just, get rid of, like 6 tons of emission per year as like one person. But I think maybe in our purchase guidance program, what we've seen a lot from the older population is the financial benefits. So if they have the income qualifications to meet and get all of those grants, it can be really affordable. You're cutting your fueling cost in half, and sometimes even lower. So I would say definitely the financial benefits. You don't have to get oil changes, things like that.
Well, I appreciate that because I have had a number of friends who are purchasing vehicles, and I'm always pushing them for the EV. So money it is. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It was a good presentation. My question to you is that how successful has Regeneración been with our community in their outreach program? And I guess how many have been successful to acquiring EV vehicles?
Mariela, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so since we started the program recently, currently we are still waiting for a lot of our participants to hear back from the grants that they've applied to, and that takes around 3 weeks to 3 months. But we have had at least, I believe it is 220 participants sign up for our purchase guidance program through the program, like for the overall program. And then specifically with Regeneración, I believe that is now up to 95.
That's a good start. Keep working, girls. Or Regeneración, I should say. Keep going forward.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right.
I had a quick question if the cap in our presentation was going to be open to public comment.
No, it's just a report out. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right, so we will be moving on. If there's any other comments from the community, the city council. Okay. Let's move on to the approving the minutes of the March 23rd, 2021 meeting. This is under our consent agenda. So we're going to move on to the whole consent agenda as a whole. We'll start with the city council. All items appearing on the consent agenda are recommended actions, which are considered to be routine and will be acted upon as one consensus motion. Any items removed will be considered immediately after the consensus motion. The mayor will allow public input prior to the approval of the consent agenda. Why don't we go out to, I'm going to go out to the public first on this, and then we can come back to the city council to have their comments and questions. All right, Beatrice, do we have anybody in queue?
Yes.
All right.
Takashi, go ahead. Who went in? Takashi?
I think you're muted, Takashi. There you go.
Oh, yeah. This is Takashi. Thank you for your efforts. Yeah. Good evening. I know most of you. Yeah. I'm here tonight in support of the resolution of denouncing hate crimes and bigotry against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. Thank you for the mayor to just to make and to write a nice draft of the resolution, and I fully support it. And I would like to urge all the city council members to pass it unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Takashi.
Go ahead, Steve.
Is it my turn?
Steve, you're up. Steve?
Yes, I hear you. Cabrillo College at our last meeting, board meeting, also passed a similar resolution. I want to thank the city of Watsonville for having this on the agenda this evening. This has been a horrendous year. The events of what we have seen that have basically taken an entire part of the world based on what your birthplace was and your ethnic origin, and basically just trying to destroy them. It's just absolutely not, I can't find anything in my memory of 68 years that matches this terrible past year. And we need to take a vigorous stand to stop Asian American Pacific Islander hatred and discrimination and violence. So I'm asking, please, City Council, this must be passed. We must stand together. We are very proud of all of our Asian American and Pacific Islander residents, and we must support them. Thank you.
Kitty?
Thank you. My name is Kitty Mizuno. I'm Takashi's wife. He spoke earlier. And I am speaking on behalf not only of my family and not only of the Japanese American community here in Watsonville, with whom we have become quite close during the years we have lived here in Watsonville, and we'd like to speak out in support of the resolution of the City Council denouncing crimes and bigotry targeting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I'd just like to emphasize that this issue is not new. There's a long history of discrimination and violence against Asians in this country and also in Watsonville. The issue with which I'm most familiar is the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. but there has also been issues with the Filipino community, the Chinese community here, and probably many others that I don't know. I feel I have a duty to educate myself about what this history is so that we don't repeat it. And I think we all have that duty. And I think this is an excellent step, making this resolution to make people more aware of the problem as it exists now and as it has existed for at least 150 years. Thank you.
I believe that's all the public comment, Mayor.
Gimme, you're muted.
I can't wait to be live back in our chambers. If there aren't any more public comments, I will bring it back to our city council to discuss the consent agenda. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the speakers. Yes, we need to stop hate. We need to stop hate against Asian Americans, African Americans, and anybody, people of color, or anybody just hating. And it's all entirely. We need to accept ourselves as human beings and do the better for us. But with that, I want to move on with item 8D and item 8E. I'd ask staff to clarify the big substantial amount of funding that's going to these contract amendments and why.
Mayor, don't we need a motion? Don't
Well, I
we
was going to say one thing real quick. I'm going to also, before we're going to remove item 8H. So to clarify, 8H will be removed from this. So, and then if we can get a motion before we can do the discussion, that would be great. All right.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're in discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead. You don't need to repeat the question.
Yeah, just can I have staff then?
Yeah. Staff, if you can answer that.
Councilmember Gonzalez, and I'll call on Director Merriam. I believe both of those are items that fall in her camp. I know she's on with us.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, so 8D is the contract amendment with CSG Consultants. They are our building plan review consultant firm that we've used for several years. As I believe you're all aware, we've had a really busy year in the community development department. So our the way that our contract with CSG works is that they get 65% of the plan check fees for building plan review for a new construction. And they get 70% of our plan check fees for fire plan review. So if we don't have work for them to do, there's no charge to the city. It's more of like a pass-through fee. So our current contract with CSG is $120,000 per year for a total of $240,000 for the 2-year contract. We are right now running up against that $120,000 limit. And to get through fiscal year 2021, we need to add another $70,000. And because we're busy and we've got the work for them, we are just proposing also to increase that amount at the contract an additional $70,000 for the next fiscal year as well. So it's the proposed contract amount is $190,000 per year for a total of $380,000. Hopefully that answers your question on the CSG.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, to make sure the community understands that, you know, anytime we see consulting fees, and, you know, it's money going out from the city, and sometimes they have the conception that it's maybe coming from their general fund, and we don't need to be paying consultants these kind of funds from our general fund, and use them somewhere else in our community. Does this money come out of our general fund?
No. It is paid through the plan check fees for building plan check. So it's paid for by the applicants.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any other questions or comments? Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, I just wanted to share that one of my granddaughter's grandmother on her father's side is an immigrant from Japan. So my granddaughter is Asian, and she wanted me to share with you that she thanks the council for passing the resolution of 8-0 to keep Asians safe in Watsonville. So that was her message.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Estrada?
Thank you, Mayor. I was wondering if Assistant City Manager Vides can tell us more about the Grow Santa Cruz County Revolving Loan Fund. I mean, I read it, but I'm kind of hoping if I can get just more, a couple more specifics on this program.
Thank you, Mayor, for asking. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Paco, for asking. Yes, this is the result of a loan application that we, the City of Watsonville, submitted in collaboration with the City of Santa Cruz, City of Capitola, City of Scotts Valley, and the County of Santa Cruz in an effort to bring resources to local businesses that may not qualify through regular lending practices to access to capital for their business, particularly during this time after the pandemic. There are many businesses are hurting financially, and they may need some additional capital, working capital, in order to keep the doors open or change their business model. So this offers local lending with more flexible lending terms for local businesses. And we were successful in collectively obtaining $2.5 million for this program. And Watsonville in particular has an allocation that will range between $800,000 to $900,000 a year that will be available to be available for local businesses in our city. And the nice thing about this fund is that it's revolving. So basically, as things are repaid, the money becomes available again to relend. So it could be with us for many, many years to come. So we're excited about that.
And I know maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but do you have a sense of how we would let businesses know about this? Would we just sort of just reach out, or?
So we have already reached out to our Chamber of Commerce, and we're hoping, as we're currently developing the marketing materials for this program, we're working in partnership with a small business development center who has a consultant that it will be dedicated to assist businesses in submitting the application to this program. And I'm also going to be reaching out to Carmen Herrera Mancir with El Pájaro CDC and the Business Incubator to make sure that small businesses in our city are also aware of this available funding.
Thank you, Tamara. I appreciate the details and the information on that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I just also wanted to echo what everyone else said also about item 8.0, and I really encourage people to visit our library where we have a number of books on the contributions that immigrants, Asian American immigrants, have made to the Pájaro Valley. So I definitely ask all of you to go check it out, learn a little bit about their history here. I want to thank Sylvia Mendez for stepping up to the Latino Affairs Commission, and it's not an easy role, but we appreciate people, members of the community, always doing that. And just wanted to say that the loan forgiveness, I know that many of our young people are shackled by debt for getting an education, thousands of dollars, and it's sort of, like I said, it's like an anchor that keeps a lot of young people down in the community. So we hope that the president can do something for our young people, and also to give many of our immigrant families here an opportunity to become citizens of this country and to contribute civically. So thank you for all that. Thank you, Mayor, for supporting those acts, and you too, Council Member Garcia. Thank you. I yield my time, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments, questions? All right. I just wanted to say also thank you to Sylvia Mendez for stepping up, just kind of restating what Councilmember Estrada said. We appreciate your stepping up and representing our community. And I also wanted to say that, tonight what we're seeing across our nation in our own backyard in regard to the hate and bigotry from others towards our Asian American and Pacific Islander community is disheartening, and it's un-American. I want you to know that I stand with you. I'm hopeful that our entire council will as well in passing this resolution and denouncing hate toward our AAPI community. These sentiments of intolerance are not welcome here in our community and not part of the very fabric that makes us Watsonville. So we will always be standing with you. So thank you. With that, there was a first and a second, and let's take roll.
Estrada,
Vote.
Aye.
Garcia,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Montesino,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Dutra.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Now we can begin the meeting, the new business part of it. So we have two items. The first item is 10A, the City of Watsonville's Vision Zero Action Plan. This report will be given by Director Steve Palmisano and Director Rodriguez. Or I guess it's just.
So Murray Fonts is going to be giving the presentation. I'm sure he's working on sharing his screen right now, and Maria Esther will be co-presenting with him.
Right.
We also have Donnie Thole from our police department to co-present with Murray on the Vision Zero Action Plan. So,
wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Steve. This is Murray Fonts, Principal Engineer with the Public Works and Utilities Department. Bear with me as I bring up the screen that I want to share. Okay. That's not it. Yeah. This isn't the, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong presentation. I'm giving you a preview of the next one. This is the wrong one. Do we see the Watsonville Vision Zero?
Yes, you have the right one up.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. In the year 2018, Council adopted Vision Zero and called for the creation of an action plan. In February of last year, Council approved a Vision Zero action plan for the year 2020 and directed staff to return the following year to report on implementation of the plan and provide an update. In this way, the action plan acts as a living document and addresses changing conditions. Tonight, staff will present on the past year's Vision Zero activities and present a 2021 action plan for approval. I will be joined in my presentation by Sergeant Donnie Thole of the Police Department. The figure shown in this slide was created this past year by the Vision Zero Task Force using the services of Digital Nest in Watsonville. It is the city.
I don't think your slideshow is working.
I haven't changed it yet.
It's also looking small for some reason.
Did we just lose Murray? Oh, there he is.
I've reloaded the image. Can you see the Watsonville Vision Zero?
Yeah, I think that's just the size of it. Go ahead.
With the help of Digital Nest, this logo was developed for the city. It's unique as it identifies various modes of transportation as well as iconic images that allow viewers to identify with the city of Watsonville. You'll note the gazebo from the plaza, as well as in the background, the Letnich building and Plaza Vigil. The city approved Vision Zero as part of its effort to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety in Watsonville. Vision Zero is a strategy to eliminate all traffic, fatalities, and severe injuries while increasing safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. The importance of Vision Zero is borne out by recent pedestrian collision statistics in Watsonville. This chart shows the number of pedestrian collisions each year from 2009 to 2018, as reported by the California Office of Traffic Safety. The bottom of the chart also shows Watsonville's ranking in the state among 105 cities of a similar size. The rankings show that Watsonville was #1 in 2015 and 2016, meaning that the city had the highest number of collisions within the group. In the preceding years, Watsonville consistently ranked in the top 10. In the most recent years, the number of collisions and the ranking have gone down. The state has not provided information for the years 2019-2020. The 2020 action plan included 6 priority projects. One was to form a Vision Zero task force that would assist with implementation of the action plan. Fortunately, the South County Pedestrian and Bicycle Work Group had been organized years earlier and took on this responsibility. The work group included many of the local agencies and nonprofits identified on this slide, along with different departments of the city. The work group adopted the name of the Watsonville Vision Zero Task Force and continues to meet every other month on the first Tuesday. The task force assisted with the preparation of the 2021 action plan. Another priority from the previous year's action plan was for the city to continue to operate the neighborhood traffic plan. This program allows neighborhoods that are interested in doing so to work together and with city staff to develop and implement traffic calming programs. During the past year, installations were done along Clifford Avenue to slow traffic and improve safety. The city established a partnership with other agencies within the county and developed a media campaign to provide public safety education. These ads were done in Spanish and English, in print and video, and shared on the city's social media sites. This time, I'd like to invite Sergeant Donnie Thull of Watsonville PD to share what his department has done during the past year to implement Vision Zero.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and community members. The City of Watsonville designated pedestrian safety zones throughout the city, specifically on high collision corridors such as Main Street, Freedom Boulevard, Airport Boulevard, and Green Valley Road. Once identified, the Watsonville Police Department conducts increased enforcement in these areas with the goal of reducing violations, collisions, and injuries. The Watsonville Police Department received 2 grants through the California Office of Traffic Safety. The first grant supplements our daily traffic enforcement efforts that are already in place. The STEP grant, or Selective Traffic Enforcement Plan of Enforcement, provides overtime funding for DUI saturation patrols, DUI checkpoints, traffic enforcement operations, distracted driving enforcement operations, pedestrian and bicycle enforcement operations, traffic safety education presentations, and finally, it sends 2 officers to standardize field sobriety testing and advanced roadside impaired driving enforcement training. Our second grant, the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Program, provides funding for Ecology Action to conduct the following. They conduct pedestrian and bicycle safety presentations with an effort to reach students at the elementary school level, typically 2nd and 5th graders. They conduct pedestrian and bicycle safety presentations at community groups with an effort to reach individuals. And they also conduct community outreach events with an effort to reach adults and senior citizens. These presentations were done remotely due to COVID. And sadly, Open Streets was canceled last year because of COVID. This second grant also provides funding for the Watsonville Police Department to purchase and distribute 100 bicycle light sets during bicycle safety community events, and a purchase and distribute of 300 bicycle helmets at the same events. Additionally, the Watsonville Police Department has a media specialist that displays our efforts to the public via social media posts and applications. Back to you, Murray.
Thank you, Donnie. Another priority project was to identify funding opportunities and develop partnerships with other agencies. During 2020, Watsonville partnered with other agencies to prepare and submit 2 active transportation grant applications. The first, the Safer Access to Pajaro Valley High School and Beyond project, called for improvements that would increase the safety of students walking or biking along Harkins Slough Road and throughout the Pajaro Valley High School attendance area. The city was awarded an $11.7 million grant and will begin work on the project in fiscal year 2022-23. Improvements include a pedestrian bridge across Highway 1 and improved pedestrian and bicycle facilities on Harkins Slough Road. They also include high visibility crosswalks and curb extensions or bulb outs at and around the 6 elementary and middle schools within the Pajaro Valley High School attendance area. The second grant application, the Safe Routes for Watsonville School Families and Communities project, was developed by the Santa Cruz County Health Services Agency to provide safety education and training within schools and the Watsonville community. The application tied for the final funding spot, but lost out on a tiebreaker. The city and Caltrans found opportunity to partner on plans and funding opportunities for projects within the city. Caltrans submitted a Complete Streets grant application to provide pedestrian and bicycle improvements along Highway 129 and the East Lake Avenue portion of Highway 152 that were identified in the city's recent Complete Streets Safe Routes to School plan. The California Transportation Commission will indicate if the grant was successful at an upcoming meeting. Recent construction projects that improve pedestrian and bicyclist safety include the traffic signals installed at Airport Boulevard and Home Road, as well as at West Beach Street and Ohlone Parkway, and the first phase of the city's rail trail project between Ohlone Parkway and the Watsonville Slough Trail trailhead. Those were things that were accomplished this past year. The proposed action plan includes the following priority projects. There are 6, and 4 of them are carried over from the previous year and are identified on this slide. To continue countywide collaboration on a traffic safety campaign, to continue implementation of the pedestrian safety zones, identify and secure consistent funding, and to continue neighborhood traffic plan and traffic calming programs. One of the 2 new goals that were introduced, or projects, was to apply for bicycle and walk-friendly community awards. In 2017, the city was awarded a bronze level bicycle safety award. As shown on this slide, the award identified areas where the city could improve and achieve a silver, and doing so would promote bicycle safety. Similarly, there's a walk safety program, a walk-friendly community program, and the Vision Zero Action Plan tasks the work group with applying for a similar award. And the 6th project is to implement data analysis. The National Vision Zero organization promotes the use of data to determine collision histories and identify causes and possible solutions. The city recently improved its access to collision data and plans to use this information to perform analysis and better identify areas that can be improved. Staff recommends that the council approve the Watsonville Vision Zero Action Plan for 2021 and for staff to return in 2022 to report on activities and provide an updated action plan. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Murray. Thank you. Thank you both for your presentation. Are there any questions by the council? Okay, I can't see everybody because let me see. Councilmember Garcia. Thank you.
Okay. I live off Clifford, and I'm pleased with the calming traffic changes that have occurred that help with Vision Zero. My question is, to what extent is the traffic neighborhood program utilized?
I'll go ahead and take that question. Good evening, Councilmember Garcia and council members. My name is Maria Esther Rodriguez, Assistant Director of Public Works. And neighborhood traffic plan is actually something that we get a lot of calls about. And the purpose, as council knows, and many of our residents already know, the purpose of the neighborhood traffic program is to work with neighborhoods so that we can come up with solutions when there's issues and they bring them forward, and we can work together, staff and residents, to come up with solutions at work. We do get a lot of questions about and concerns from individuals saying that there's issues in their neighborhood, and that what we do is provide them a plan. They get together with their neighbors to make sure it's something that they agree upon, and then we start looking for solutions. So we get requests very often, and we work on them together with the residents, making sure that they're all on board and we can all work together with this. A couple of other ones that have recently been implemented include speed humps on Bridge Street and some traffic calming measures that we did on Bridge Street relatively recently, and we're continuing that. We're also working with some folks that have expressed concerns in the Atkinson Lane neighborhood. There's been concerns with other residents in areas throughout the city, but we give that information often, and we work with our residents to make sure that we come up with solutions that work with them and that they're all in agreement with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You also did Arthur Road too, correct, Maria Esther? So with the speed bumps.
We did. Arthur Road was about a couple of years ago, but
yeah.
Yes, indeed, we worked with that neighborhood extensively.
Right. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Mayor Pro Tem Parker.
Commenting on this, we've had speed bumps, and we want to say Adolfo and Maria Esther, thank you very much for the Bridge Street area. We used to have people do donuts in the middle of the street. We just recently, and I want to thank you, Maria Esther, for your excellent letter writing, because I kind of copied your letter and sent things out to some constituents who were very concerned about the traffic in their streets. And it's what's really nice about this, and it is very empowering. People are talking to each other, and they're going out and they're filing petitions with each other, getting that. There's always that thought where nobody wants it to be in front of their house, but in the end, they want to see something happen. So people usually come together, and it takes some talking to. And it's not like we can talk them into it. It's really great to see. And so at first I wasn't a great believer in this, but I am a big believer in it now. So it is well organized, and it provides a lot of guidance for everyone. I want to say thank you to our friends in the police department too, who have aided everyone in their questions, as well as in some guidance, and also just going out and looking at the streets to be helpful and giving feedback on what's going on. And thank you. Murray, I got to tell you, I always look forward to your presentations. Always.
Well, you're going to get another one soon.
I know.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mary Fonts, and thank you, Don, and thank you, Maria. Thank you for being on the Vision Zero plan. I know Felipe Hernandez, our past city councilman, is one of the ones that was in the forefront of all this. And I've attended some of the meetings, and I find them very educational. One of the questions in attending these meetings that has risen is our bicycle safety. You know, we do have some roads that are highly dangerous to ride on, like 129, especially in the dark. But we also have some issues that we have ordinance that are old and maybe antiquated in a sense for bicyclists that prohibits them from riding on the sidewalk. And you know, as a council, I think we need to look at that and bring it forth to us to see how we can change that ordinance to allow bicyclists to be able to ride on sidewalks without having to be ticketed or pulled over, because sometimes it does become a social injustice issue, right? For the person that's riding on the sidewalk. And I know the police may have reasons to have this tool in their toolbox, but again, I think as a council, we need to address this issue because it is a bicycle safety issue. And so I just leave that there. But again, I want to thank you, Mary Fonts and Don and Maria for all your good work.
Councilmember Gonzalez, sounds like you and I sat in on the same meetings as this topic came up at the Vision Zero Task Force. And while I didn't identify it as a priority project, it is one of the items that the group will want to discuss. So I'd encourage you to allow the group to take this on and do some discussing, and then perhaps with that background, it might make for a good presentation to council.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Councilmember Strada.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, here. I had a question about the neighborhood traffic plans for either Maria or Murray. Have you gotten any insights from any of the neighborhoods that have implemented these programs and any sort of feedback or sort of like human nature type insights that you've gotten, anything like that?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and jump in on this one. On the, for example, on the Bridge Street, which has been completed and in place for now, when we send out letters to the residents and going back to the neighborhood traffic plan, this is something that is indeed implemented because neighbors ask for it and we work with them. So rather than the city deciding where we're going to do improvements and traffic calming, it comes from the neighbors and working together with them. That being said, the Bridge Street traffic calming that we installed, it takes a bit of time because the staff will work to suggest locations that would be appropriate for some certain types of improvements. And then we have to check with the residents that live directly adjacent to those improvements. Same thing we went through on Arthur Road, because they are ultimately, they live there and they're gonna face these improvements and they have to be okay with them. So it takes a little bit of finessing. Some people are adamant that this is not something that they want in front of their house. So we'll look at different locations and see what might work. And we'll come up with locations that work well, that people agree to, and then we'll install them. So some people are very happy with the installations. And then there's other installations like the bigger one we just did on Clifford, for example. It impacted a larger stretch of people because it's traffic calming. It's essentially, it's narrowing lanes. It took out some parking and things like that. So we're still getting feedback. And the Clifford installation is a trial installation. So once it's in place, the 6-month period, we're going to go and do an after survey and see what people think of it, if they feel it's effective. So there's a before and after, and all of these techniques that we use, all of these installations, if over time it looks like something is not working anymore, then we can revisit it. And that's, I think, the beauty of it. And again, that's the partnership and working together with our residents. Again, as city staff, we don't want to impose something that they're not wanting or that they don't feel that improves the traffic situation on their streets. So it's constantly working together with them and listening to them.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you mentioned the I know we've talked about it a little bit, the whole Clifford project, because in my sort of walks through the district, I've gotten some really colorful feedback on that project, and you know, it's mostly the negative feedback. I think always stems from a place of, you know, a knowledge gap, you know, a lack of understanding of why it's there and what's the purpose of it. And so I appreciate that there are plans to go back into the community to offer explanations and answer questions, because it is definitely needed. And but I also heard a lot of great stuff, a lot of great feedback, so it should be a good conversation. In the data that Murray showed us, we saw a dip, and we were number 15 in cities our size for 1 year. And so I'm sort of wondering why the sort of dramatic improvement and then the sort of regression back to top 5. Or if you sort of happen to pinpoint or know the causes of it.
I don't. Although I do want to comment on Marie Esther's last remark. She used the term finesse about working with these people. Marie Esther is very qualified, Santa Maria. She's a very patient person, and she's ideal for this responsibility. Colorful language is a nice way of saying how some people feel about inconveniences that are truly safety improvements.
Agreed, Murray. Agreed 100%. And you know, we love Maria, we love you, and we appreciate all the work that you do. And so my last question is, did anybody implement the slow streets concept? I really wanted to do it, but I just sort of felt like I needed some help. Like I know it's a sort of a good little process to do, but you know, I sort of sometimes feel like if I'm not doing it in my community, you know, sometimes it's hard to find somebody else. Or is there any way that we can sort of do that, make it a little, I don't know, streamlined or easier to try to get something like that in our neighborhoods?
And actually, slow streets were from the initial beginnings of our neighborhood traffic plan. Partial street closures were already included, but now you hear the term slow streets. We have had some initial questions about it and how they can implement it, and we're absolutely on board with doing it. However, it is, again, a neighborhood decision, because those streets are where our community members live. So the folks that live there have to be okay with doing that. And as I mentioned, there's been a few folks that have been interested in starting that, and we walked them through it. Here's the neighborhood traffic plan, get people on board, and we'll start working together with you on that. But I haven't gotten any follow-up from some of those neighbors. But it is still out there, it is still an option, and we can absolutely do that once we get a community, a neighborhood that's on board with it. We'll absolutely work with them to implement slow streets on a residential street.
Do you have one extra question. Do you have a timeline of when that would start? Like, if somebody submitted something, are you thinking like May, the summer, late summer, anything like that?
It's totally dependent on how much feedback we get from the neighbors. So if somebody said they want to do it and they get folks in their neighborhood to sign a petition, I think that particular traffic calming technique can be implemented fairly quickly, because we have signs available. It doesn't take that much to do. What takes probably the most time is getting folks in that neighborhood on that street to want to do it and agree to do it, and letting us know that.
I appreciate your answers, Maria. Thank you. Those are my questions, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm gonna go out to the public, and then we'll come back for more questions. Do you guys mind, or do you guys want questions now? Okay, let's go to the public and see what the public has to say. Are there any questions or any comments? All right, I see one.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Hi, good evening. This is Teresa Rogerson. I work for County Public Health and have worked closely with Murray, Maria Esther, Donnie, and others as part of the Watsonville Vision Zero Task Force. I first just wanted to thank all of them and including former and current council members that have been engaged in and participated in the task force and have been committed to Vision Zero in the city of Watsonville. So thanks to all of you that have been a part of that. And I wanted to also just mention to go back, I always look forward to Murray's presentations as well. He mentioned some funding that we've applied for, including a grant application that the County Health Services Agency, where I work, collaborated and partnered with Ecology Action to put in an application for the state active transportation program cycle 5. And that was the Safe Routes for Watsonville School Families and Communities. And although we tied and didn't quite make the cut, we did find out that there might be some augmentation funding coming down, and that it could be that we do get funded for that project. It would be 1.6 million for focusing on the schools, including some traffic gardens that would be permanently installed in some of the school locations, some demonstration projects, bike ped infrastructure demonstration projects, as well as education and encouragement activities in some of the schools in Watsonville. So we're crossing our fingers still, and we will keep you posted. Again, just wanted to commend everyone involved in this Vision Zero process. And thanks to Maria, especially for all your work on this.
Thank you. All right, any other speakers on this topic?
No, Mayor, that's it.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna bring it back for more, okay, Councilmember Montesino.
Love Vision Zero. You guys have done a great job. I want to commend you, and but I also had a question along the lines that we're talking about, because some of my neighbors talked about, not in our neighborhood, but Harkenslow. It's just, now it's become a pressure point for Main Street, which we're getting more and more traffic. And aside from needing more sidewalks, how can we, and get more vehicles to slow down? Because we're having high capacity and it's on a hill. So sometimes they don't, people are not so aware how much they're speeding through there, but it has an impact in our neighborhood.
I'll take that quickly. One of the things that we have been looking at is there's a crossing from behind Target to the neighborhood there. And that's one that we've looked at to see how we can install some type of flashing beacon or something to augment that crossing there, because it is attached, it's nearby a school. And we've been looking at how we can maybe do a bulb out at the corners or some high visibility, something a little bit more pronounced. It's a tricky one, but we are still looking at the possibility of a flashing beacon and or in-road lighting for that crossing. It is like I said, it's a tricky location because there's no median and the width is very long and it's on a hill. We want to make sure that we just do something that's appropriate, and I will keep you informed as we progress on that, because there's a couple of options that we've been looking at. And as I get more information, I will definitely let you know what we would be proposing there.
And can we add, because it's not, like I said, not only concerned about the crosswalk, but also just the speed that people are going through there is like, slow down, or 25 or whatever the speed limit is around there.
Yeah, I think in addition to providing visibility, etc. If we put bulb outs and some type of center interest installation, and that's the tricky part we're looking at, something in the roadway will make it feel narrower and should help with that. But again, that's the hope, and we hope that motorists and pedestrians are also being safe, and cyclists all being safe and doing what they need to do as they're out on the roadway.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, I want to follow up with Eduardo's on the Harkins flu. Is there any way that we can put, you know how we put paint chevrons for the bicyclists on the roads? Is there any way that we can do that for the speed limits, that we can paint it on the road for a visual, besides on the signs on the...
Let me check into our MUTCD. I know there's guidance that we have to follow, and I know there was a recent update, and that's the manual on uniform traffic control devices, and that's where we look to on all things traffic related and operationally related, and what we can install. We'll look to see if there's any updates that have been made that we could add those things, and if those things would help, I think that's a good option that we can look to.
And then can I go ahead and make a motion to accept?
Yes.
Approving the City of Watsonville Vision Zero action plan?
Great, thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay. Did you get that? Thank you. All right. Any comments? Any other comments before we vote? I just want to say that I receive tons of emails. The people on Bridge Street are very excited that, Mayor Pro Tem Parker already spoke earlier on this, but they're very happy about the speed bumps going in, and it really slowed traffic down. It also worked on Arthur Road. I know that Maria Stair, we're working with people on Atkinson Lane. I'm hoping to set up a meeting for that neighborhood soon. I've also met with Sergeant Thule and other people in regards to traffic safety. We only have 3 traffic officers, so and they don't all work at the same time. So I know that a lot of people are, complaining that their neighborhoods are turning into speedways and people are running through stop signs. So this is something that we definitely need to have a further conversation about on how we can keep our neighborhoods slow at a slower pace. It's going to be hard to be going through every single street and adding speed bumps and these calming solutions with a lack of funding, and B, there are so many streets that it's almost impossible. So we need to figure out a solution to this. So I look forward to a further conversation. Ms. Flores.
Estrada.
Aye.
Garcia.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Montesino.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Dutra.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion carries.
This carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, on to projects lists for transportation projects funded by Measure D and SB1. These are all of the projects that many of us are interested in. That'll be in our community. It will be given by Public's principal engineer, Murray Fontes. You have the stage again.
Thank you, Mayor Dutra. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation with
Yes.
Measure D?
We're good, and we can hear you.
In 2016, Santa Cruz County voters approved Measure D, a 1/2 cent sales tax that funds transportation projects for 30 years. The measure allocates a portion of funding to individual agencies, and the city's projected share for the coming fiscal year is $927,000. Requirements of the funding include development of a 5-year expenditure plan with council approval on an annual basis. A copy of the plan is included in the agenda packet. Measure D funds that are not expended in one year are rolled over and available to be used by the city in the next year. The following year, 2017, then Governor Brown signed Senate Bill 1, providing additional funding for road maintenance, rehabilitation, and safety projects. The funding is apportioned by formula to cities and counties. Watsonville's projected annual share for the coming fiscal year is $1,036,000. And a copy of the plan is included in the agenda packet. So this funding is included in the city's annual budget. However, it can only be used for transportation projects. Typically, transportation projects comes in two different types. A one-time allocation, such as a grant, which is specific to a particular project and is awarded competitively, so the project needs to address the grantor's concerns. The other type of funding is an allotment, where the agency receives a specified amount of money and the agency can determine how it's spent as long as it meets the parameters of the original allotment, that is, that it's a transportation project. Measure D and SB1 are both allotments. Tonight, I'll present concerning three types of projects. One is a construction project, that's where things get built. Another is design, and this includes preparation of construction documents and plans, environmental documents, permits, and other pre-construction activities. These are essential for getting a project built and require funding. The third I'll describe as programs, such as education programs, as has been mentioned earlier, or annual operation and maintenance programs that aren't allotted specifically to an item, but are assigned to a general category. This is the Measure D 5-year program of projects for the coming, that we're presenting to you this evening. As you can see, or maybe you can't, it covers a total of 5 years. And each year the city reviews and approves a new 5-year plan. The advantage to this is it allows for some flexibility. If after a year it's determined that other projects have arisen to a higher priority, then the plan can be changed and a new plan adopted. Since the primary focus is on the projects being built in the coming year, tonight's presentation will focus on those projects that are being funded in the year 21-22. This year's Measure D funding plan calls for spending just over $2.3 million. The reason we have that much money is because we've rolled over funds in anticipation of some larger projects to go forward this year. Of the 2.3 million, 1.5 will be used for construction. Just under $500,000 will be used for design. And then $295,000 is proposed to be allocated toward programs. One construction project scheduled for the coming year is on Freedom Boulevard from Alta Vista to Green Valley. We're completing design and environmental documentation this year. We're also doing, or have been doing, utility work along Freedom Boulevard in anticipation of this construction project. Water line, sewer line, storm drains. We're doing them before. Next year, we anticipate construction. The overall project cost is $3 million. Of that, $507,000 would come from Measure D, $500,000 from SB1. And you'll note in the corner of each slide, there are logos indicating that funding for this project is coming from either Measure D or SB1. There's also a $1.5 million grant that the city received from the State Transportation Improvement Program that will assist with construction. A second construction project is on Green Valley Road between Freedom and the city limits. Design is being completed along with environmental documents at this time. This summer and fall, there'll also be utility work that will go forward prior to the road work. We anticipate construction beginning in the next fiscal year. Of the $2.5 million needed to build this project, just over $1 million will come from Measure D and $1.4 million will come from SB1. The Bridge Street reconstruction project between Blackburn Street and Beck Street involves roadway reconstruction, striping, and signage. This year, this coming fiscal year, Measure D funding will be used to complete the design, with construction scheduled for the following fiscal year, 22-23. Construction is expected to cost $1 million. We currently have proposed that a future year SB1 allocation of $650,000 will be available, and we're looking to secure the balance prior to the fiscal year when this project will build. A second project that will be designed next year using Measure D funds is on Pennsylvania Drive between Clifford and Winding Way. The roadway along one edge is failing, and the project proposes to shore up that portion of the road as well as reconstruct it, provide new signage and striping. As I said, the design will happen in the coming fiscal year. We're still looking for the $2 million that we'll need to build it. When I say still looking, we're seeing where we can, whether we use local funds or we can secure grant funding. We anticipate going to construction in the fiscal year 23-24. On Harkins Slough Road, there's a project proposed. We mentioned this in the previous report, the Highway 1 Harkins Slough Road pedestrian bridge and safe routes to school project. This was the one that the city received the $11.7 million grant for, and it will benefit Pajaro Valley High School students and other bicyclists or pedestrians using Harkins Slough Road who travel between the city limits and the high school or beyond. It also includes numerous improvements within the Pajaro Valley High School attendance area. This map shows the different schools where the improvements will take place. The red flags indicate that there'll be high visibility crosswalks or curb extensions installed on the streets in and around each of those schools. There'll also be a buffered bike lane added to Green Valley Road between Loma Prieta and Pennsylvania and just short of Main Street. There'll be improvements to the Pajaro Valley High School driveway, adding speed humps, but most of the work is going to take place on Harkins Slough Road between the high school and the intersection with Green Valley Road and Silverleaf Drive. I'll walk you through those improvements. This slide shows the entrance to Pajaro Valley High School. The work includes these green sidewalk or crosswalks, which are called cross bikes. One of the unique features of this project is the bike lane will be moved from the south side of Harkins Slough Road to the north side of Harkins Slough Road, and a two-way separated bike lane will be created. That's where the kids ride their bike anyway, and that's where they all walk. So we figured if you can't beat them, join them. The green bikeway allows a cyclist who approaches to switch sides of the road and be riding within the new two-way bike lane. This shows the improvements at the southbound on-ramp. And it shows a cross-section showing what the road will look like after these improvements are done. As you can see, the two travel lanes are pushed off to the right. A 10-foot wide just under 10-foot wide bike lane is installed in front of the sidewalk with a painted buffer area and vertical delineators to create a barrier for cyclists, pedestrians, and drivers to see, and then the sidewalk. One advantage to putting both bike lanes on the north side of the road is cyclists won't have to drive past this uncontrolled on-ramp anymore. Today, cars can make a turn without having to stop or respond to a signal. And that puts the cyclist in a precarious situation. Having them on the north side completely avoids this possible conflict. This slide is of the overcrossing at Highway 1, and it shows the construction of a pedestrian bridge on the north side. I know the detail is kind of hard to see, but what the proposal is to build a new bridge, a separate 10-foot wide pedestrian bridge that mates up next to the existing bridge. So if you're crossing the bridge and looking at it from the top, it looks like it's one bridge. What this will do is allow all of the existing sidewalk to be removed from the existing bridge and in effect widen it out so it can have this proposed two-way bike lane as well as a bridge dedicated just for pedestrians. After we cross over the bridge and in the area between the bridge and the intersection with Green Valley and Silverleaf, there will be a sidewalk installed. A portion of it will be 10 feet wide, and then it will neck down to match up with the existing sidewalk at the intersection. Also, the two-way bike lane will transition through the intersection. There'll be improvements to the intersection that will steer cyclists to the proper side of the road. So when they resume their trip either on the extension of Arkansas Slough or Green Valley, they'll be riding in the expected side of the road. As this cross section shows, in this area, there'll be a 10-foot pedestrian lane, a 10-foot bike lane, and then a travel lane. A second project that involves pedestrians and bicyclists that will be, oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. The schedule for this project is to continue to work with Caltrans to complete design. They've taken responsibility for design and environmental documentation on the bridge itself. The city will design and do the work outside of the bridge. So we're partnering on that. We anticipate design being completed in fiscal year 21-22 and construction starting the following year. The Lee Road Trail project will continue in a design phase as well as hopefully move forward with construction. This trail begins at the Pajaro Valley High School driveway. So you could say it's an extension of the project that was just presented. It proceeds down Harkins Slough Road and then turns onto Lee Road, follows Lee Road with a bridge across Struve Slough, and then picks up on the other side and will extend to the railroad tracks where it can link up with the rail trail. This slide shows trails being developed here on this parcel. This is owned by the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County, and they are putting together a design and construction of a series of trails that will allow visitors to explore the slough area on their parcel. We have partnered with them. They have secured a grant to do construction on their parcel, and they've made $700,000 available to the city to construct what we're calling phase 1 of the Lee Road Trail, which would go from the high school driveway to the Land Trust driveway. That cost is $1.7 million. So we're still looking for an additional $1 million. If you know anybody, give us a call. We spoke, as Councilmember Gonzalez said, we spoke with Congressman Panetta's office to see if there might be funding available through the earmark program. We're also working with the Coastal Conservancy to see if they might further fund this project. The continued development of the trail will be contingent upon securing funding for the remainder of the construction. We've done the design, we're securing the permits, and so we're well positioned to apply for funding. Other projects that are in progress and involve design during the coming fiscal year include the downtown revitalization program. There's $100,000 set aside for the coming fiscal year for design and securing additional funding for pedestrian improvements within the downtown corridor. The work is being coordinated with the community development's downtown specific plan that's being done so that they can both help to improve pedestrian and bicycle access throughout the downtown area. We're thinking that we'd like to start out with $1 million. So we're going to be applying for funding to do that. Another project that will go through the design process next year would be the second phase of the rail trail project. We've set aside $100,000 to continue with that project in design and permitting. There are a number of programs that are that are proposed for funding in this year's Measure D action plan. These include road repair, $250,000 to be used as identified and needed on different road repairs throughout the city. $75,000 to maintain and improve trails. $140,000 for pedestrian and traffic safety improvements. For example, this last year, the Airport Boulevard at Home Road traffic signal essentially replaced a flashing beacon that had been installed there. With these pedestrian and traffic safety funds, that beacon was relocated to Freedom Boulevard near Marin, as you can see in the lower left photo. And the citywide bicycle facilities has an allocation of $75,000. All of those would be Measure D funds except the road repair, which would be through SB1. This is not an SB1 or Measure D project, but it's valuable to bring it up. The city has a road maintenance project scheduled for 2022. The city secured $1.1 million in, I need to read the name of the funding source because I can't remember it. Regional Surface Transportation Program Exchange. We anticipate that this would do the work for 4 miles of roadway. Design is being completed. Construction would take place next year. This is where we go out and we find roads that are in reasonably good condition, and with a little bit of maintenance, we'll preserve them for an additional 8 to 10 years. In Street Talk, there's the pavement index, which is like the temperature for your roads. What kind of health are your roads in? The goal is to be around 70. This shows that over the past few years, Watsonville went from 52 to 48 up to 65. Every couple of years we go through, and with our consultant, we evaluate the condition of all our roads. And then a couple of years later, we do it again. In between, the roads typically deteriorate, or so the program that makes these calculations assumes. So that's why we see a decrease from 65 to 63 in the last year, because we did our last evaluation in 2019. And the last project I'd like to talk about is Freedom Boulevard from Green Valley Road to Airport. As we march northward on Freedom Boulevard after the construction project scheduled for next year, which would take us up to Green Valley Road, we're looking at going beyond Green Valley Road. That is a challenging area, and we don't have a construction date set. We're looking to complete a plan line study in the coming fiscal year, and then in the next 2 years, identify right-of-way acquisition and utility work that needs to be done. Let me use this slide to show you what I'm referring to. On the lower section on the right side, this is just east of Green, or just north of Green Valley Road. And as you can see, this roadway shows 4 travel lanes, 11 foot, 12 foot, 12 foot, 11 foot. And then it calls for 2 5-foot bike lanes and then 2 5-foot sidewalks. This is a conceptual design. If you look, you see these black dots. These black dots are existing utility poles. And in this case, they're in the bike lane, at least the proposed location of the bike lane. So we would need to either relocate the poles or have them undergrounded in order to construct the roadway as shown here. These red lines are right-of-way. The one side is the city's, the other side is privately owned. And because Freedom Boulevard has been developed over the years, the city has taken that opportunity to acquire some right-of-way, but older parcels haven't been asked to give up right-of-way. So in the area that I'm highlighting with my marker, the proposed sidewalk and bike lanes would go through private property. So unless those properties are developing in the near future, the city will need to acquire that right-of-way. The plan line study will allow us to identify the best way to thread the needle, so to speak, and install the roadway as well as the bike lanes and the sidewalks. And then we would work with the utility companies on either relocating or undergrounding the utilities, as well as the right-of-way acquisition. All of those involve cost and time. So we're moving ahead to try and get a better idea of what to expect. So with that, staff recommends that council approve the project list for Measure D and SB1. They need to be approved and submitted to the state or the RTC by June 30th of this year. And I conclude my presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And let's see here. We will, are there any questions from the council? Go ahead, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Can I make a motion for approval now, or do you want to go?
Well, I think we have to go out to the public and then come back.
Okay,
So,
I'll just make a comment then. I really want to thank staff for that, doing the work on the Bridge Street between Blackburn and Beck Street. It's way overdue. The community members there are going to greatly appreciate that work. So thank you for all your hard work on that project. And all the hard work that you put. I mean, transportation, roads is a difficult task. So thank you.
are there any questions? Or let me go out to the public really quick and then we'll come back. Anybody in the public that wants to comment on this?
Yeah, Steve is wanting to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yes, I want to recommend to the City Council to please approve this. All of these improvements are highly necessary. The fact that our street index got down to 48 a while back and 70 is average. As a teacher, that's a failing grade. I was 36 years a teacher. 48 is out of 100 is pretty bad. All these are needed, and God only knows the students going to Palo Valley High School desperately need to be safe while getting to school across Highway 1. That should have been done 20 years ago. I'm very glad that we're now going to finally get to this point. So yes, please vote in favor. Let's get this done, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Do you want to just let it go? Vote?
All right, Matt. All right, Matt, we can hear you. Okay, let's come back to the City Council. Councilmember Montesino, questions, comments, whatever you like.
I would like to move staff recommendation, but I'd like to ask a question. Do we have any projects shovel ready, or are we prepared if the Biden administration passes, this big infrastructure bill? I know with, I'm cognizant that you guys are understaffed. So, you know, how can we better prepare ourselves, or do we already have projects, you know, that are in the queue?
I'll take that one real quick. There actually are a couple of projects that we have to a point that we feel that we could get shovel ready right away. I know the utility projects we mentioned on Green Valley Road between Freedom to the city limits are something that need to get done, but that design project is virtually ready to go once we get the go ahead and the utility work in. If it comes up that are we ready to go, maybe we combine them, but I think we can speed that one up. The other one that we're looking at is making sure we have some preliminary work done on Pennsylvania. So if there's funding available there, that's another project we can do. But yes, indeed, we are looking for more and more of those types of projects to have them ready that we can jump on, and any funding that may come available we'll be able to use.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I just had a quick question. Will the light at McDonald's go in when you guys in that phase on Freedom Boulevard?
Unfortunately, we did not get the grant. We had applied for a specific grant for the light, the traffic signal at Sydney and Freedom, and we were not awarded that particular funding for that project, unfortunately. But I think what we can do is make sure that there's a conduit in place that when we do get the funding, because I'm confident we can do that in another cycle, we'll have it ready to go in a way that it won't upset or impact the pavement and the other improvements that we put in.
Great. And then I know that we started putting our utilities underground, starting at Main Street and Freedom Boulevard, all the way up. I think we got to, I guess, the Lincoln intersection. Are we continuing to put as we go through and do the upgrades through on Freedom Boulevard, are we going to continue to have our utilities go underground?
The hope is that we can prepare for that. A lot of most of the undergrounding projects are real specific projects that we have to get on board with PG&E in undergrounding districts, and there's specific funding that is set aside that we can do those projects with. We have one project right now that is in line for the next undergrounding phase. I'm sorry, undergrounding project for Watsonville, and that's on Lake Avenue between Rodriguez and Union. And Murray can correct me if that's not quite right, but that's correct. And so to do full-on undergrounding projects, we do need to identify undergrounding districts and move forward. What we are able to do in future projects is install conduit ready for undergrounding in the future if we need to. But as we have opportunities to do that, we indeed do that. But to be a full-fledged underground district, I think we'll have to work with PG&E and also work with our city council to identify where those will be.
Well, I think that's important, because I think the last time you guys did it, you had already redone the roads, and then you had to open them up, and it caused people were like, why they just did the roads and they opened it up to put the utilities underground. So maybe if we could prepare it so we don't have to tear the roads apart again next time, I think people would be they would be like, no, you're tearing up nice roads. You know, we hear from everybody. I'm telling you.
We do, yeah.
And I just want to make brief comments. I'm excited about PD High. That's much needed, well deserved. The upgrades have been forever. The Bridge Street, the project that you're going to do, I run that area all the time. I cross that street, that crosswalk is terrible, and that's a good upgrade that you're going to be doing right there in that section as well. So thank you very much. All right, there's Councilmember Estrada.
Sorry, Mayor. I just had one quick question, and it's for my benefit only. You know, I know that a lot of my constituents will be happy to know that Freedom Boulevard will get a fix-in. I know that's always one of the #1 things I hear about, but believe it or not, I always get like a common complaint, which is that when teams go out there to do any sort of work on the road, that whenever they repave, that the repaving process is always uneven. And that's really, it seems to me like that was like the little thing that like I heard the most of. You know, a lot of people saying like, why does the city not leave things evenly paved and stuff like that? So I'm wondering why that is sometimes, and so that I can go back to them and explain to them what the issues are there.
I don't know if I think all the paving, is there a specific area that they?
So I'll give you an example that somebody gave me. We did work by Carl's Jr. a few months ago, I believe. And I don't know if it was some pipes or something, but when they sort of refixed everything, the roads were no longer even. And, you know, the complaint about that, or the problem with that, is that people say, well, you know, I'm paying for my car. And, you know, sometimes like people just go like this when they're driving, you know. And so I hear it, I actually hear it a lot. But other than that, they're kind of happy with the work that the city does and fixing the roads. And I know sometimes it takes a while, but that's the only one that I hear a lot of.
My sense is that it's perhaps a utility line project, could be a water, sewer, or storm drain project that happens that's in a trench in a portion of the roadway, that it doesn't cover the whole roadway, so it's not a full road reconstruction. So the trench is often a little bit higher because it will take a little bit to settle, like the rest of the road. So it's usually left just a touch high, but we can make sure that when we put those in, they're at levels that they need to be, and then we can give you a heads up or more information on it. Will likely be this way for, I don't know, 6 months, or until it has a chance to adapt and get traffic on it. But we'll be more conscientious of that to give you a heads up.
I felt the same way about it when they did it on Airport Boulevard. It wasn't smooth. It was like two different levels. So, I mean, now that it's fading, you can't really tell as much, but when you guys repaved it, it didn't look smooth. It was like, I actually complained about it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good feedback. And we'll continue to make sure that we
Councilmember
hear
Gonzalez.
that feedback and pay attention to it. Yes.
Well, anyways, go back again to all these road constructions and uneven roads. You know, sometimes when they do trenching, they do use temporary cut back on there. And so it is uneven sometimes on that extreme. But it comes back in also to the workmanship, right? Of when they're doing the work and how dedicated to their job. But I do want to commend the staff and our workers, because I mean, you know, we have now, and I'm proud to say that Rogie Lane, and Carolina Street in my district that had trenching work done. You know, they did the whole road, they did repave it, the whole road. And that's something that the city is moving forward with, and developing these crews that can do the whole roads and pave the whole roads when there's small enough projects for us to do, versus having them bid out. And I commend our workers for doing an outstanding work on that when they do it, when it's in-house. We save money, and so it's a good part of it, right? That we do, but because there is projects that need to be done like that we can do in-house. And these bigger projects obviously are going to take bigger contractors to do, and that's where we just need to be vigilant, and that the contractors do the job correctly, and that airport isn't, you know, off by a quarter of an inch from elevations. But overall, I'm glad that the Harkins Field Bridge was approved and we got the funding for that, and we're going to move forward. And I hope to get hopefully start securing funding for the Lee Road Bridge pedestrian. I think that's going to be an important project also for us as a community to help fight climate change too at the same time.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mayor Pro Tem.
Really good at the title this time, Mayor. Thank you very much. I just want to say one more time, Murray, you did not disappoint. Excellent. Really appreciate it. Like the detail. Appreciate your humor that's just right around the corner. Maria Esther, thank you very much for all that you do. Not only did you educate a lot of our residents, but you sure educate us. And when it comes to these calming mechanisms, And we're like, no, that's not enough. Oh, you can't do this. And you know, after time, I have recognized, after seeing all these things in place, it really does work. And patience is a virtue. And I know it's difficult, but we are very appreciative over here on East Lake and Bridge for that. I just want to say I'm really excited about the Harkins Slough pedestrian bridge with the kids. I just think that's fabulous. And I too am excited about down here at the end of Bridge Street and Beck. And I know our Councilman Gonzalez was very much, you know, an advocate for that. So I appreciate that. And it's there. Like to see a couple more things, but we'll talk about that, you know, when we get all that great money from the federal government and see what kind of, you know, because I'm looking at what the price tag for the next to 2026. It's about 8 million approximately. Matt, we're going to get more than that from the federal government?
Here's hoping, but if we do, we'll be ready for it. That's the good news.
Okay. Okay.
Optimism.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much for the report.
All right, Madam City Clerk, roll please.
Estrada,
Aye.
Garcia, Gonzalez,
Aye.
Montesino,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Dutra.
Yes, thank you for your hard work. All right, we are going to be out of here before 9:16. Are any no emergency items? I don't see any, hear any. Unfortunately, we lost Miss Councilmember Garcia, so there are 5 of us left. Any requests for rescheduling any future agenda items? Councilmember Estrada.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not from me. It's from Councilmember Garcia, who texted me and wanted us to perhaps. She wanted to bring up the ethics complaint for the community. So she wanted me to just reiterate that she's been asking for that for a little bit. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, and without any further, we are adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.